Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to the second day of this amazing conference, the Future of Factories Summit, MENA 2021. We had an interesting day yesterday. We had a lot of insightful presentations, our esteemed lineup of speakers who shared their views, and it was really eye-opening to hear some of their comments and the facts and the views that they shared yesterday. I personally enjoyed it a lot, and I'm looking forward to this second day of Future Factory Summit. We have a power-packed agenda today, and our chairperson of the day, Mr. Chelam Shankar, he will be joining us in a bit. However, without any further ado, I would like to introduce the first speaker of the day, Dr. Nancy Gleason. Dr. Nancy holds a PhD degree, and she's the inaugural director of the Hilary Bellin Center for Teaching and Learning, and an associate professor of practice in political science at New York University, Abu Dhabi. Her research focuses on the fourth industrial revolution's impact on higher education and the future of work. She considers societal impacts of education, employment disruption, continuous reskilling, and the role of industry in supporting upskilling of adults. She is the editor of Higher Education in the Era of Fourth Industrial Revolution. He is a co-editor, Diversity and Inclusion in Global Higher Education, Lessons from Across Asia. Dr. Gleason holds a PhD from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University, MSc from London School of Economics, and a BA from George Washington University. Dr. Nancy, that's a great introduction, and we are all very happy to have you here. I now pass on the floor in your safe hands. Welcome to the Future Factory Summit.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that generous introduction, and thanks to all the esteemed guests for including me here today. I'm delighted to be speaking with you about the future of Industry 4.0 in the post-COVID-19 context. And I'm going to be speaking to you about how COVID-19 has influenced the pace and scale of Industry 4.0, also sometimes called the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And what does it mean for the future of work in manufacturing? So of course, yesterday we had lots of beautiful presentations relating to the main 8 technologies that are influencing manufacturing and the future of production. And I would overlay on top of these the potential of the 5G network and eventually quantum computing to also alter this new reality. The future of work prior to COVID-19, we were anticipating a new digital interface in the workplace. And this includes man-machine interactions, where devices, people, and space interact in different ways and across timeframes we're not normally used to in the workplace. What COVID-19 has done is sped up significantly the transition processes of this new paradigm in work. And what that means is that firms need to move much more quickly and agilely to update both their infrastructure, but also their human resources management and institutional and governance structures. So one of the ways in which this is changing are fivefold, at least what I'm going to share with you today. First, jobs will look different faster. We know that automation is overhauling the manufacturing industry, but factory floor workers are now expected to monitor a range of different technologies and analyze data on performance and output in a way they weren't 9 months ago. So what this means is that human resources need to change key performance indicators quickly and then be prepared to change them again quickly. Another key point is that manufacturers need to adopt universal strategies for connectivity and for the collection for systems and data collection for systems integration to enable progress. By doing so, we're allowing newly learned skills by employees to transfer to other manufacturers. Without that, the talent gaps become even tighter. Thirdly, manufacturing industries need to collaborate, both with government and universities. So firms do not need to operate alone in reskilling and upskilling the employees that remain after automation. Developing technology strategies and training programs across the industry is best practice for a broad ecosystem of manufacturers across the MENA region. And it will enable all manufacturing industries to modernize at a similar pace without necessarily impacting negatively the competitiveness within the industry. This could also influence workforce development, as systems implementation could create initiatives across industries, which would help with turnover for companies across the spectrum. 2 more points for you. Universities can help in filling training gaps. Partnerships with local universities are key to success, not least because they hold future local talent. But this does require, on the part of manufacturing firms, time and monetary investments from industry. But individualized training focusing on a single system or piece of equipment may benefit the firm in the short run, but it doesn't enable workers to build broadly applicable skills, which are highly necessary in a post-COVID vaccine world. Finally, doing so enables us to avoid focusing on short-term shareholder gains, which will de-emphasize the long-term investments needed to thrive in a newly disrupted manufacturing world. Unfortunately, the post-COVID-19 Industry 4.0 world means that there's a worsened impact on talent gaps, and this will be debilitating for the strategic hiring within the manufacturing industry. This also creates retention challenges for high potential middle managers. Manufacturing firms need to be working to maintain these people, keeping them on the payroll by offering them key professional development opportunities. Finally, these key professional development opportunities may be outside traditional realms. COVID-19 has shown us that sometimes the agility and strategic maneuvering needed means having staff on board your industry and within your firm that have skills outside the normal scope of need and demand. The post-vaccine world needs to have preparations in place for future disruptions as well. COVID-19 has taught us that we were not agile and flexible enough to pivot when needed. So we need to think more broadly about what disruptions are coming. Most likely these are related to climate change, but there also may be some we're not anticipating related to natural disasters or other disruptions. So we need to have integrated crisis management principles into our Industry 4.0 strategies. When you buy a new technology and only 5 people in your firm know how to use it, what happens when they take ill? Trauma wrought by COVID-19 is another preparation we need to be prepared for in the medium term, the next 3 to 5 years. Our existing employees, those who are not automated out of work, are dealing with trauma environments, something our HR firms are not necessarily used to responding to in the region, depending on which country you're placed in. So having that kind of wellness support for employees is very important. And we need to have structural organizations around complacency. What are we doing as manufacturing firms and as industry partners to address complacency? How regularly do you have meetings on innovation, where change needs to happen, where clients are changing? And finally, technology investments being made to circumvent skills shortages need to also anticipate where future skills shortages will come from, not the current existing gaps, which tend to relate to critical thinking or programming and digital analysis capabilities. What are the ones that are 10 years down the road? I tend to think that these relate to, especially in the manufacturing industry, ethics, morals, self-care, where we don't tend to have a lot of people on staff in this space currently. The post-COVID-19 Industry 4.0 world will demand this. That is my brief presentation to all of you today, and I look forward to opening up for Q&A in the afternoon sessions. Thank you very much for having me, and good luck and enjoy the rest of the day. Chalem, I turn it over to you, and look forward to hearing about the pharmaceuticals industry.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy, for your excellent speech and sharing your views. And we will now take the couple of questions from audience. And the first question is, just a minute. How to overcome the barriers in implementing Industry 4.0?
Right, I think the key here is collaboration. So if you want to adapt these technologies, you need to reach out to government and university entities that have research and human capital support for these initiatives. Go immediately to your local university or one nearby and find out what faculty members, what research is being conducted in that area, tap their students, and have them help you devise a plan to make the transition.
Okay. The second question is how to identify the perfect Industry 4.0 fit. In what kind of industry it will fit and what kind of industry is required 4.0 implementation?
I'm not sure I understand the question. If it's what kind of technologies should you be adopting, is that the question?
Yes.
Okay, we know that pattern-based work is automatable. So based on what you're producing now, where is there inefficiency in what you're producing? There are already technologies available to automate that. So identify the pattern-based work. The other thing is with your human resources team, you want to break down what tasks are being done inside job descriptions. Break those out into automatable and not automatable based on what is pattern-based work and what requires real human cognition. And then you want to train the employees you want to keep to work with machines, and you want to work with government and university officials to help you, and industry officials who are marketing, of course,
Okay.
To identify where you could make the most efficiency and save the most money.
Okay, thank you. That's all. And further questions, if any, then we will be sending to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Yeah. Now we have a panel discussion on CIO panel, Digital Transformation, the Manufacturing Metamorphosis. Let me introduce the moderator, Mr. Rahul Burghani. He has a wealth of diverse sector experience working in executive levels, including various industries like energy, utilities, and EPC, telecoms, and manufacturing industries. Mr. Rahul Burghani, he will take over the sessions. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Just a quick sound and video check. Is everything all right?
We can hear you and see you.
Great, thank you very much. Good morning and welcome to all. It was an interesting day one yesterday. I hope you all enjoyed that. Of course, I did. I really enjoyed some of the conversations. I'm looking forward to helping steer some in the day too. I would like to introduce, bring in my co-colleagues on this panel.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Yeah, nice to have you, Sridhar, on the panel. And hopefully we will all, I know we are short of one. We were supposed to be 4 actually, but we are 3.
We'll make it up.
Nevertheless, it's the quality of conversations that we need to maintain.
Sure.
So I will, without further ado, actually, I will do my own introduction first, and then I'll ask Sridhar and Yasser to introduce themselves quickly. I'm Rahul Burghani. I have been working in SR Oil UK for about 3 years now, but I have overall experience of manufacturing all through my 35 years career. Several different types of manufacturing, discrete manufacturing, continuous process, utilities, oil and gas, energy, a short stint on telecom as well for 5 years. So quite a varied sector experience in terms of doing all the development of technology across many sectors. So the word transformation is being overused nowadays. So I will tend to stay away from the word transformation because we are looking at metamorphosis actually today. So I really like and enjoy working in various areas of technology deployment in many different sectors and countries, and I have done several work on M&A also. So that's my background and experience, and thank you very much, and for inviting me on this panel. I will hand over to Sridhar to give a quick introduction, please.
Thank you, Burhan. Thank you. My name is Sridhar Rajagopal Sridhar. I've been with the ERP world most of my life, doing selling, implementing, consulting, solutioning across various ERP products and various ERP functional silos, manufacturing projects, finance, supply chain, and things like that. By academics, I'm a chartered accountant. That's where I started my journey. And then now in the Middle East with Epicor for about 8 years. Epicor is very specialized into a manufacturing area. That is what it specializes, and that's what I've been doing all the while, and specifically moving into, as you said, into digital transformation and 4.0, and the nuances to whatever extent it fits into the market and the business needs of the organizations. That's what I do. That's a quick introduction about myself.
Thank you very much, Sridhar. Thank you. Should we move on to Yasser, please? Hi, Yasser.
Yasser is still facing some technical issues. Maybe we can start the discussion and he'll join in soon.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so I think we are actually going to focus on the key word here, which is this panel's main theme is how do we look at manufacturing metamorphosis? Is manufacturing metamorphosizing, or is it evolving actually? Because
hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Yasser.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, nice to have you, Yasser. So I think I will go back to an introduction. So please, Yasser, if you can introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Yasser Al-Jughayman. I have almost 18 years, 19 years of experience in as a business. I'm basically a mechanical engineer. I went to different organizations, different departments, different companies here as a business. And then in the last 10 years, almost, I spent it in business transformation, working with the board, working with CEOs to transform their business strategy into an IT strategy, how to implement it through IT transformation. I'm working as a, let's say, as a bridge between IT. I'm not an IT, but in the sense, and I was most of my career, I was business. Currently, I am the CEO of IDR Consulting, SAP Consulting, with a new approach, new methodology, how to transform the business through agile transformation.
That's excellent. Thank you very much, Yasser. And it's wonderful to have you on the panel. It's such a different and a very varied kind of experience, and more at a strategic level and more at the business level than at the technology level. So you are bringing the right mix into the panel. Thank you very much, Yasser. So I was starting to kick off some of the questions around metamorphosis. So what we feel as manufacturing, is it metamorphosizing or is it evolving? So we'll look at this actually in many different ways. I mean, how I would go to Sridhar first. Sridhar, what do you think is the journey of metamorphosis for manufacturing in a very broad terms here? Sridhar, did you get my question actually?
Yeah, right. You talked about the journey of metamorphosis, which is there.
Yeah.
Yes, certainly. Now, I would take it slightly related to that, which is I would call it as a digital manufacturing journey, because manufacturing being the backbone. Now, having defined the strategy and then of the organization and the digital strategy, then the digital manufacturing journey, which is there, sort of sets in, and it is in relation to the organizational vision, as Yasser was talking about in terms of aligning with the strategy. That's one thing which is there. Now, in this process of starting and moving on the journey, very important in my view is to know where are we starting from? What is the current situation? Could be infrastructure, could be digital skills internally, could be the smartness of the shop floor, whatever is that. So that is a starting stage. Now, looking at a couple of journey or certain points, which is there, the growth, I would call it, from a simple connectivity. So it could be connecting devices on the shop floor. I mean, the specific references to manufacturing and shop floor, connection of devices. It could be human, or it could be devices. It could be IoT or smart integration or smart screens. And then moving on next stage into sort of a performance visibility. In terms of from a standard reporting to whatever is the shop floor metrics, as they say today, is OEE, or it could be statistical process control or statistical quality control, scrap reporting, so on and so forth. This is the next stage of a movement. And then moving into a slightly more efficiency, I would call it as a system efficiency, where there is intelligence being built into it, sort of alerts, root cause analysis, predictive maintenance, kind of a thing, which is moving to the next stage. And then is the advanced analytics. That's the adage which they use now, is from shop floor to top floor. Mm-hmm. So it was used to be different. The shop floor metrics analysis, capture analysis stayed with the shop floor. Now it is to put it together and sort of call out whatever is required from the shop floor to the top floor is the sort of an advanced analytics. So that's sort of a journey which I'm talking about. So connectivity, putting on devices, gadgetizing, but all should sort of flow as to where we are starting and what is the stage growth. That is what I see as the metamorphosis.
Great. So I think there is a key interesting point here about the integration from the shop floor to the top floor. I think the challenge, which I think is just before this, the speaker talked about collaboration as a key. Now, this collaboration, while you need a collaboration from external supply chain environment, your socio-political, conditions around your business, I think there is a lot of gap in terms of, I have seen in many of these manufacturing companies, in terms of the collaboration within the organization itself. We have still lots of challenges in that. I don't know if you all agree or not, but I have seen personally that bringing the shop floor people with the design people, to bring it with marketing people, to for all to agree that strategy, for all to agree what is the priority, what is the is itself is a very big challenge as a CIO I face actually. So I think with that, I will lead on to the question to Yasser actually, because Yasser is working more at a strategic level with the senior management. Yasser, my query with you is that how do you see actually the future leadership actually in the organization? What do you think is the for a smart factory or an intelligent factory or an intelligent manufacturing as an organization? What do you think is the right leadership actually one should be in an organization?
As rightly my colleague have said previously, definitely this is the objective. And unfortunately, as you said here, I saw globally, it's not regionally, by the way, because this is transformation, it's common for everyone. It's it has nothing to do with gender, with the region, with the business line, any industry. It's either manufacturing or oil and gas, or even financial banking or so. At the end here, you have two things. The first thing is how to understand comprehensively, 360-degree, the business and board vision and business, the whole business strategy in the next 10 years, 20 years. Short term, mid-term, long term. You have to understand it really deep. You have to be in the place of the chairman of the board, in the place of the CEO, in the place of the executive, so that you will understand it deeply, what is the requirement. Now, the challenge here, how to understand the technology, how to support this. And the reason why I transferred my career, although I was doing well over there, and even less headache, much less headache, much less effort, much less challenging. It's very challenging, the transformation. But since I saw the gap over there, it gave me really the motivation to understand how to transfer it into a platform. This is one. The second part is, the challenge here is how to find the technology selection that integrate both the two foundation, the back office and the shared processes, and the industry specific solution, either it's banking, manufacturing, utilities, oil and gas, anything here. And since I did almost 4 until now as a hand-on end-to-end, I can tell you that it's one of the amazing things is how to integrate the value you will get by deeply integrating the shop floor with the top floor, so that you will map every single process in a single technology. This is one very, very, very important here.
The holy grail.
Because, and I applied a huge effort in the change management there, so that the effort later on the results, as my colleague have said, how to build the later on the analytic, how to transform the business into the second technology level, like if you are intending to go to in the roadmap of Industry 4.0, it's a matter of only now, it's matter of hardware now, connectivity. But as you said before, I would say more than 90% of the references or the companies I visited, unfortunately, they lost track in the middle of the implementation. There wasn't one clear roadmap, and they will stick to it, and they will do it in the most agile way, so that you will get also the maximum benefit.
Very interesting point, actually, Yasser. I think you brought in a very important point about the program efficiency itself. I mean, if you start up a program, how do you ensure that the program is the most efficient while the business is moving through the phases? Because any program or project you start, actually, even if you do a selection of a technology today, by the time you reach the end goal, the technology has itself metamorphosized into a new beast, I would say. So how do we keep our alignment of the program to the top level business strategy and make sure that the technology supports that? And to do all this, the most important is the driving the program itself with the kind of culture and the leadership that is needed to do that. Let me go on to another point now about what do we think is the timeline in your minds in terms of when do you think this maturity will come overall in the manufacturing industry? Is it 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Any thoughts on that, Sridhar, from you?
Yeah. From a time
the point is, when will we reach the maximum and enterprise digital insight level, which as we all agree that we are 90% of the organizations are struggling. They start something, they do a little bit, then they get lost actually, then they start again. And then the cycle just goes on with we not moving too far actually in the program. So
yeah, just take one step back in terms of before we go into the duration of it. Now, the duration in my view is more relative, depending upon what is the current maturity to what they wanted to reach. But before we get into that, is a much more important point. What Yasser was talking about is from a 360-degree view of what the organization is about. What is the short-term, mid-term, long-term? Now, the strategic objective of the organization, it's the other way around. The digital journey should align with the strategic objective. And then if I put it down into 3 phases, if I may call it as a discovery, then an execution, then an efficiency or intelligence phase. At the discovery is where I want the decision to be taken along with the top management, because it has to align with what is their strategy goals. So once we align with that, the execution selection of the technology could be more operational. And then when we go into the measure, which means that again, when we are talking about, it could be simple, a device in the shop floor, or it could be a sensor or an IoT. I'm sticking specific to manufacturing. So when we measure the effectiveness of that, what is the not from an ROI, which is a very, very standard measure which you do, but from a strategic view of that, then comes in terms of how well it has been done, what is the repeatability of this particular tool or a skill or a process, whether it has been automated according to that. So keeping that roughly, if there's a decent level of maturity in terms of systems and processes at this point in time, I would look at about a 3 years time. That is what is a rough number in which the organizations will be able to do when they have a 3 to 5 years strategy and a goal, and the top management flows along with that. That's what is my views about.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, sir, any thoughts on what you think is the duration of this journey in terms of average industry reaching a certain maturity point actually?
Again, as I said here, I support what my colleague have said. I think 3 years is a very, very good timing to reach to maturity. However, I would say, unfortunately, based again on what I have seen, because of the different technology selection, different integration point, loss of strategic single focal point of contact, so that he will architect the whole journey together and link it and make sure that the IT maximum value and IT expenditure and IT scalability, I would say, in the future. This is very important here, because people sometimes will go live and at the end they will face even the smallest change. It will be a huge effort and a huge challenge for the whole, especially if it is multi-geographical or big companies here. Definitely, I support Big Bang. I support Agile. I support the maximum processes visibility, usually. And I did it for Shell once, and until now, it's the global reference for the oil and gas. Shell and Aramco refinery. We reached to activity-based costing for the first time in the industry there. And until now, and you cannot imagine I would say the business benefit that now 5 years of deep analytic, deep shop floor to top floor, any report, any scenario, any feasibility study they want, they can. There is a traceability of the data. There is a traceability and auditability. You can verify, you can validate, you can do a lot of things. And even from IT side, the scalability here, any upgrade, it supports the international business best practices, it supports a lot of functionality. This is the balance here, and this is unfortunately, from technology point of view, it's available. It's being very much matured in the last few years. However, unfortunately, as I said, I am seeing a huge gap between the business and board strategy, business strategy, and the executional part of it.
Yeah, I think concept to execution is the gap. We all know the concept. We all know that this is good to do. This is the future. This is where it has to go. This is how the entire world is evolving, or manufacturing is evolving, or our industries are evolving. I think another key area here is there are lots of trends which Gartner and all actually talk about, around Industry 4.0. the different technology trends that various analysts actually talk about, what in your mind actually, Yasser, are some top 2 or 3 key trends? Is it SaaS as a trend, or low code, no code as a trend, or I mean any of these kind of high level aspect? I'm not talking about one particular technology, but I'm talking about some trends in terms of evolution of technology.
No, I think I'm sure from pure technology point of view, we will be seeing an acceleration, huge acceleration in the support and in the reliability of that support, the key prerequisite or key factors for Industry 4.0. I would say depend on the business case for the business line. You cannot generalize it. Sometimes small or SME, it's different than medium, it's different than large. Even large, there is a different categories, and each one it will apply. You need to apply it based on your need and your. But again, I would say the main thing here, the foundation, and unfortunately here I'm seeing a lot of consulting company, they promote it. It's going to the other way around. It's going to technology, devices, relays, hardware, promoting softwares, different softwares for especially for the shop floors there, and forgetting the whole strategical integration point between them and which is understanding the business processes.
Yeah, great. I think that's a wonderful point actually. Yes, sir. Before I go to Sridhar, I would like to add my thoughts on this area. I think we all are seeing change. We all say that change is constant and it keeps on. So change is happening around us in all aspects of our businesses, not just manufacturing or future factories. Services are evolving. I think we haven't really looked at manufacturing as a service actually, and most of the modern factories are, I think, looking at how does the factory become a service hub rather than a manufacturing hub. What are your thoughts on this, Sridhar?
Yeah, when you look at manufacturing as a service hub, we are probably moving away from the old traditional style of what we call as the customized manufacturing, to a customized manufacturing from a bulk made to stock kind of a scenario. And this is the where I have, and this is what you need to pick up kind of a thing. From there today, it is completely moving from there into, it has moved sometime back into sort of a made to order scenario. From there, it is completely now moving into you decide, you say what, we will make it for you. It could be a completely configured product, or it could be a completely engineered product where a lot of time is spent in terms of planning, designing before we hit the shop floor. Now, that is the moment where we see in a lot of industries, be it large manufacturers or standard manufacturers. So it is the flexibility which they are actually moving away in terms from a standard traditional manufacturing or box manufacturing into completely reactive to the market demand in terms of with the tools. Now, from the technology on top of it is going to be what we call as the from what they used to be calling as a subtractive manufacturing to an additive manufacturing. Now, these are some of things which is actually the technology enabled tools which helps you to sort of move into that direction where I can quickly react, quickly respond to whatever is the request of the customer. As they used to say, it is a simple color choice to a completely product choice kind of a thing. So you could completely move away. And that is the area where the technology has to enable us to move into that direction. Now, keeping that aside, this is from the top floor point of view, or from the process point of view, from the strategy direction point of view, this is what we wanted to move. Now, it brings in certain challenges. I'll come not to the COVID-related challenges, but into the process challenges itself. In terms of what Dr. Nancy was mentioning today morning, is very, very key aspect of training. Now, in terms of new processes, new systems, new reports, and new tools have been pushed into the shop floor or into the manufacturing process, in terms of to align with our strategic decision of the organization to move from a standard to a customized manufacturing thing. Now, it is so important that we mass train, mass upskill the tools and the skills available within the shop floor, be it the machine smartness or is the operator smartness in terms of reading and working and things like that. So that is sort of getting into a challenge at this stage. Now, that is something which has to be addressed very, very quickly. Now, it compounds when we are looking at in terms of a remote workforce now. So it means that it is distributed. A lot of challenges, or I would say not all the challenges, but it puts pressure in terms of infrastructure, in terms of security, in terms of training. And that's where your low code, no code also comes in place in terms of how well we are able to push the no code concepts of building and working their processes, dashboards, self-personalization into the end users kind of a thing. So that sort of gels into our vision if you are actually moving away into a more of a customized or manufacturing as a service kind of a thing. So these two has to go hand in hand in terms of what is my strategy of moving and then how well I upskill my skill internally. I don't want to throw away, but not to get a new service, because my guys who are there, my tools understands my business process. Hence, it is so important for me to upskill them so that the journey is smoother.
So one of the challenges, I will stay with you, Sridhar. One of the challenges is on the overall availability of hundreds of point solutions, which are being named as a transformation, products. So today, every software product, every hardware product manufacturer calls himself as a digital transformation, company. And for a consumer, like a CIO, it's so difficult actually to always take out the layers on top and then understand the core and see that it is another point solution doing something. I think for years we have spent millions and millions of dollars in terms of doing point solutions, and then ended up with too many systems in the organization. And then we thought, oh, we should actually rationalize them. We should try to integrate them. We should try to bring them into one platform. Then started the cloud journey, and slowly we are doing the same with the cloud, right? We buy one cloud product, we buy another cloud product, we buy third cloud product. And slowly again, maybe in 5 years time, 10 years time, you will look back and see, oh, I have got 15 cloud products now. How do I integrate them? Where is my core data? Where is my core master data? So this is a journey which keeps evolving, the challenges of the market with the challenges of the. So having given that, how would you see as a focus from a consumer perspective in terms of going into the right technology selections so that we achieve the maximum benefit from the program actually?
See, one step back in terms of, if you look at it, is before I hit and go and look at what are the tools available in the market, there are three key silos which I generally look at in terms of from an organization point of view. By and large, it's a very broadly, you can put all of them into three key silos. Number one is revenue silos, cost silos, and control silos. The control silos will be your, can be humans, it could be a processes, whatever it is. These are the three silos. Now, why these three silos is because that is where I drive my processes and then look at my process automation based on the data and the tools and things like that. The difference between that and I would call it as a simple gadgetization, which means, let me take a very, very simple example. If you're talking about a shop floor or a warehouse from a supply chain, if I'm going to introduce new tools for picking, if I'm going to introduce mobile just for picking, why? Picking was slow. Well, mobile and the barcode reader, the picking is going to be fast. And if I go to, it means that I've not understood the process and then I'm gadgetizing that. Now, that is not a process automation. What happens in this, the famous theory of constraints, which means In this process, I've just moved the bottleneck from picking to packing. And then I go and look for another system, which will probably somebody suggest an robotic packing for that. And then I put in there. And then this journey continues because still I have no view of the process. And then, as you said, 3 years later, I wouldn't know what is the investment, what is the ROI, which part of it was successful and things like that. So coming back, in terms of looking at it, the view is to always a top-down approach, because at 2 stages, I need the top management to say, yes, this is what we wanted, and this is what we have as we planned, and things like that, and then look at the process. So process is very key, and then you look at automation. And then, of course, as you said, we're all spoiled for choices, be it your tools, be it your gadgets, or be it your smart sensors and things like that. Everything is different, but in terms of our study and process and planning, and then you'll probably able to get the right mix.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you, Sridhar. I think it's a very important point that we do the right understanding of the end-to-end process rather than a small process within the subset of a process. This brings me to a thought that I will go to Yasser on this. So Yasser, what do you think are the boards and the very top management and leadership are focusing on as a key purpose for transformation? Is it bringing the customer at the center, or is it bringing the organizational sustainability in the center? Usually there has to be some purpose, right? Any leadership agenda or vision or 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan need to have some purpose. And depending on the industry they are in, there will be different purposes actually for every manufacturing organization. So what have you come across actually in your journey so far, Yasser?
In my experience, as I said, either in the hands-on or the strategical advisory roles, it falls into two main categories. The first category is they have business gaps, business efficiency, that they have brought many consulting organization to evaluate and understand where is it and how to close these gaps. Either control or leakages in their core processes. The other area, usually they have a strategical vision to expand or merge or their business model would be transformed into some sort, and they usually again they will bring consulting companies to give them the strategical vision and the business strategy for that. This is where what you have just mentioned before, and this is where unfortunately the evaluation and building the roadmap and the executional part of it. You said, unfortunately, because everyone now he call himself either transformation expert or the technology that they have. It's a tool, and then it's a transformation. This is for me really. This is where unfortunately it's misleaded the CEOs and the board, and they put them in the dark, and they couldn't, and they don't know how to react, because this is for them a black box. It's not a business. It's again, and that's why I'm saying here, I would many times when I sit with many big consulting company, I advise them, please encourage the business lines and the IT to come close together. Either the business, the CEO, he need to take a lot of courses or a lot of knowledge transfer, how the transformation work best way, and the IT how to help to mediate and to become closer to the business and to be even change management champions, not the other way around. Usually, as I said, in my work, most of the change management I faces, it's not coming from the business. As a business, I can convince them because I know the processes that I have selected the technology, and I can tell them where is the benefit if you accept it in that way. They listen. Usually they listen. The challenge for me is the IT. The IT, they are programmer driven, purely technology driven, and they would say this is the common in the market. I don't care about the common. It's mostly wrong. And as you said, and that's why I will give you one example. In all my 4 transformation, the technology that has been selected until now, and now almost some of them working 4 years, they have only one technology that link both shop floor to top floor, and not only that, going to semi-finish production level. And this is a key that usually business and IT forget it. Now, since the application platform is very robust, and your ambition is going for machine learning, digital twin, industry, for all these things, you need to build the foundation. And unless you go to semi-finished production, so that you will have the maximum visibility on every single machine and every single routing, every single operator, what he's doing, what he's consuming, how much scrap he's wasting, how much you cannot do the correct analytic at the end.
Totally agree, sir. I think we brought a very key point here, that it's very important actually to see that the digital dexterity across the organization, I mean the digital capabilities and digital competency across the organization has to reach to a very good level, so that people can understand what the technology suppliers are trying to offer and understand them and then apply them in the business actually. So because often what has happened in the past is actually there has been so much confusion about what this technology is going to do, that the actual decision makers at the very top are very confused actually. What is it going to do? How is it going to evolve? How is it going to pay me back? And all that. And that has kept them away from doing some very good investment decisions sometimes, because of the confusion actually. So I think there is the industry has a responsibility here to look at how do we simplify this actually, and make it simple for the top managements and the leaderships to understand, and also start to bring them in actually, coach them and actually guide them to understand that and work with that. Excellent point. Thank you, Yasser. I think it's been such an interesting, actually, I could have gone on with to both of you actually, your immense knowledge reservoirs here to tap into. But I think I need to go into some of the questions that has come from the audience. So I think there's a first question is on digital transformation is for everybody, but it's not one size fits all. How would make it impactful investment? So I think I will go with Yasser first. Very quickly, Yasser, what's your thoughts on this question? How to make it an impactful investment?
Yeah, definitely. As I said, first, go to the maximum. Take this chance to go to the maximum processes, visibility, and design, so that you will later on, if on the value realization, you can get that information. The second, make sure to rightly select the technology, so that your maximum processes will be under one technology, so that you will not be just focusing more on the IT operation later. Thirdly, focus on the change management in between, so that you will build the layer strategical hub to link the IT and the business.
Great. Thank you very much, Yasser. I think for the second question, I'll go to Sridhar. Sridhar, Mohammad Fayaz Monir asked, why still digital transformation is not easy for majority of companies? What are the hurdles and challenges?
Hurdles and challenges. Okay, right. I would look at it in two ways in terms of reaching out to multiple companies in terms of the digital transformation. One is, as Yasser pointed out, in terms of, you also mentioned, in terms of the variety of tools which is available, and each one promises and presents a certain benefit or certain feature. But I'm not being able to put it into my organization as to where it comes. The last point which Yasser answered was very important, that the choice of the technology putting into one of the three key silos, which is either my revenue, cost, or control process, because I need to link the technology to relevance in my organization, where it is relevant. Now, if I'm not able to get that link into the system, the tools remains tools and the tools remain with IT, but the business is not able to interpret that in terms of business benefits, in terms of my short-term, long-term requirement, where it is going to fill the gap, and how do I measure the success. As long as if this is not being able to fill in, so the probably certain transactions could have been automated, could have been benefits, could have been defined. I would also say that one of the very key area of the automation is data simplification. So in terms of data capture and things like that. So that could have been achieved, but because of the gap in terms of this information, which is not being able to link into the relevance of the processes, relevance of where it is important, and how do I measure that? If that is not there, the hesitancy of the organization to embark a digital journey is going to take some time. In terms of, so either the training or the knowledge or the imparting of this piece of information, it has to happen continuously for some time before it actually catches up.
Great, thank you very much, Sridhar. I would like to now wrap up with some key comments, summary from all of us. I think the few key points that I could gather from this is we are actually on a journey which is going to look like about 3 to 5 years journey for most of the organizations. So you can say 60 to 70% organization will be in quite a good maturity phase from 3 to 5 years time. That was one of the key thoughts which came out from this. There is a purpose for every, and that purpose has to be very clearly defined at the vision, mission statement, and with the top management agreeing on what is the purpose of transformation, where are we, how are we doing, is customer at the center, is process excellence as the center, is operational excellence at the center, is creating new revenues at the center, or another important key point we all thought and deliberated on is also on talent actually. So we all agree that digital talent has to go up, skills have to be reimagined, the roles have to be reimagined, job descriptions have to be reimagined actually for a new world. So because we cannot keep using the same job descriptions, same organizational structures as it used to be for such a long time, because the new order requires a new structure as well. So that's a key area where we think is how the metamorphosis is happening for manufacturing. If I consider this as a fishbone, transformation journey as a fishbone, the kind of bones that are coming into it, from the lateral bones or the factors which are coming into it are increasing so rapidly because of the different factors. Now, COVID has added a lot of factors in terms of new workplace, coming into the play, different workplaces coming into play, decarbonization, climate change will bring new factors. So the immense amount of factors which are going to come into this fishbone and keep, driving this, the transformation journey is evolving very, very rapidly and it's very hard to actually for an organization to keep tab of all of them and still keep the program relevant. Hence, the speed and agility of the program is also very important actually, to start to earn and learn and earn something and then go forward actually. Great, I think I have overshot by a few 2-3 minutes. I'm sorry for that to the organizers. Thank you very much, and I think I will hand over to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Rahil, Yasser, and Sridhar. That was an absolutely magnificent panel discussion. Like Rahil mentioned, it was a reservoir of knowledge And I totally enjoyed this discussion. I think a lot of relevant points were discussed, and these are very invaluable views that were shared. I'd just like to let our audience know that we have made note of all these questions, and we can take these questions up at the end of the conference today. So we'll request all of our speakers, if you guys are available at around 1:15 p.m. And if you can take up these questions, we're going to bring all the speakers together and ensure that all these questions are answered, and we have your views on this. So these are the questions directly from the audience. I think the amount of questions which shows how important these discussions have been. Now, I'd like to also, before we move ahead, I'd like to just mention a few points over here, which are housekeeping rules, as I said. The first one is the question and answer sessions will be at the end of each panel session. So please feel free to type in your questions in the Q&A section before the session ends on our platform. And you can click on the respective booths, and you can connect with the representatives over there. All the delegates will be available in the networking zone, and our sponsors can chat and arrange meetings with these delegates by clicking on their profile. So please connect with each other. These industry platforms are extremely useful to make new connections and share views. The conference recordings and post-event report will be shared with all the attendees 2 weeks after the event. So we will email all this data to you guys. All delegates have the opportunity to win gift vouchers. The top 3 delegates on our leaderboard will win prizes. You get points for networking, accepting meetings, sending meeting invites, visiting booths. So please network and win. You can also contact the organizer for any issues at the booth in the sponsors and partners section. So we have a booth named as Verve Management. So please feel free to connect with us in case you have any questions. It's been an amazing morning so far. A lot of interesting presentations and views. Now we will have a 15-minute networking break. Again, please remember to network and visit the sponsors and partners section. Remember, the more you network, the more chances to win the gift vouchers. It is 11:05 right now, and we will be back by 11:20. So please enjoy the networking break. I'll see you guys soon. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you all had a great networking session. Getting back to the conference, we have our next topic, which discusses the value of a supply chain contingency plan, a very important topic in these times. Now, let me introduce the moderator for the panel, Mr. Iyad Jabir. He's a senior supply chain professional with demonstrated and proven experience in end-to-end supply chain management for over 29 years in the GCC and MENA region, out of which he had worked more than 10 years in the food manufacturing in Saudi Arabia and UAE. Currently, he's the head of supply chain in United Foods Company, one of the leading food manufacturing companies in UAE and the GCC. Iyad, before I leave the floor in your safe hands, I'd like to inform you that we have Wala, who would not be joining us, and Khamis has had an emergency. So I leave the floor, I pass on the floor in your safe hands. Over to you, Iyad.
Yeah, thank you, Rohan, for the introduction. I heard last minute urgencies. Unfortunately, two of our guests will not be joining. So we'll have to carry out with our distinguished speakers, panelist speakers, Mr. Yasser and Dr. Hana. We have a great panel discussion coming up, and the topic is COVID-19, the value of supply chain contingency plan. Gives me immense pleasure to moderate this session, and I am delighted to introduce both Mr. Yasser and Dr. Hana. Okay, so this leaves us Yasser, and you can start with the introduction, please.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, Iyad. Actually, my pleasure to be with you here today, and actually with the Dr. Hana will be joining us shortly, hopefully.
Likewise.
Yasser Jamal, I'm the supply chain vice president of the Unilever in North Africa and Middle East. I'm based in Dubai, and will be more than happy to be with you in the panel today.
Fantastic, fantastic. I don't know whether we should start with the question. I will prefer that to save time. We can. I will alternate a couple of questions with you, Jamal, and Dr. Hana once she'll be able to join us. So we can start with first question to you, Yasser. The question is, how do you see the long-term impact of COVID-19 on the global supply chain management?
Actually, before we go to the question, let me just give some quick background about Unilever supply chain to the audience of this conference. Yeah,
good.
Just to understand actually what the magnitude that actually we are discussing.
Good. Go ahead.
Unilever presence in 190 countries around the globe. We are having 2.5 million people touching our products on a daily basis out of our 400 brands that we are owning in the company. We are in Unilever through 3 divisions: personal care, beauty and personal care division, and the home care division, as well as the food and refreshment. 12 of our global brands, they have a sales of around €1 billion per year, where Dove brands and the Knorr brands, they are actually even €4 billion per brand in each year, actually contributing to the sales of the company. Unilever value chain have over more than around 48,000 suppliers, and we're producing in the 216 sites, and that equates to 296 factories in 90 countries around the world. We have 453 warehouses and distribution centers, and 4.3 million shipments per year, and over around 100,000 employees in Unilever supply chain. Now, if you need to discuss about the impact of the COVID and the impact of the global supply chain, definitely safety is first of all in our all operation, but during even the COVID in 2020, we have experienced different challenges of safety. We have moved all the factories and the distribution centers, even for the frontliners with the sales team. We have different chairs and safety protocols to manage their own safety and really to manage the operation on a daily basis, even during the pandemic. The physical distancing protocol, the aspects of the operation, the two-meter economy, what we can see it actually globally going around the world, it will absolutely have a lasting impact on the way that we organize to our work as well as in the future. And definitely quality, it is something that's not negotiable and we cannot even compromise during the operation.
Yeah.
The second aspect is the combination of the global and local with agile and resilient supply chain are much important and competitive edge to the company that we have this kind of resilience and agility. We can use our global edge and we can use our local edge, and we can see during the pandemic, the localization, the border closure. If you need to manage and you can move between the global and local supply chain, that actually give you that kind of legal edge. Yeah. As we out of the response mode of living such COVID-19 actions in 2020, the disturbance become the certainty now, and we need to manage it, and it is the foreseeable future. Because actually, definitely COVID-19 is not going away in 2021. It is remaining with us, and we need to manage the operation accordingly.
Yeah.
The consumer habits are really changing dramatically. The wellness, the everything, or digitalizing everything, the high demand of hygiene products, along with the increased focus on value, as people will be adopting a financial uncertainty as well during the pandemic. The third aspect will be the decades have been compressed into weeks. For example, the e-commerce shares of retail by value has been ongoing around 1% growth since year 2001, 1% growth since year 2000. In 2020 in MENA region, we have experienced and we saw a decade of growth in e-commerce actually in 8 weeks. And we see actually the high growth in digital as well as in e-commerce that really has changed the whole game in the region. And that's increased capacity in logistics network in the trucks, sale, freight, warehouses, and ports, which clearly force us to adapt to the new trend and the new consumer demand. The fourth aspect will be the volatility in the market has confirmed our belief that agility is far more important than accuracy. For example, we have started changing our sales and operations a planning cycle from a 4-week cycle with a 13 weeks horizon to almost 1 week cycle and 4 weeks horizon. Yeah. And we are challenging ourselves even to move to a 3 days horizon for our top SKUs. So resilience is becoming really important than efficiency. Even in the networking design, the single source, the long lead time, the supply chain have been a challenge during the pandemic time in 2020. So actually, this is the main aspect that I can just share with you now for the impact of the COVID in the FMCG operation.
Okay. Thank you, Yasser. I hear Dr. Hannah has joined. Dr. Hannah, do you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you very well. So would you please be kindly and introduce yourselves first, because you weren't at the beginning of this.
Sorry, there was some connectivity issue. Technology is not helping a little bit today. I'm Hannah Kumar. I lead the CS&L as part of integrated supply chain in Middle East and Pakistan and North Africa gross markets for Mondelez International. I'm in the company for around 6 years. Before that, I had worked in as leadership in supply chain in a couple of companies, starting from Unilever and ending up with British Petroleum in different industries in the Middle East and Africa and Asia Pacific. And I'm pleased to be part of this conference today. Thank you for inviting me, and looking forward to an interesting session.
Very impressive, Dr. Hannah.
Thank you.
I don't know whether you heard Yasser, his full speech or the answer of first question, but let me start from the end of his words when he mentioned the short-term changes that they have to do to their supply chain management. And let me ask you, what is the long-term change or shift that we are likely to see in the supply chain in the turbulent era, this COVID-19 impacted time, the new normal?
I would, yeah. It's a very interesting question, actually, because nothing will change in the supply chain. It's just a matter of what area of focus we're gonna do. All the strategies are there, but before COVID, we used to focus only on short term. A majority of the companies actually used to try to be in a reactive mode, which is all about. Need to be ahead of the game. So we need to look more of the long term, which is coming from different aspects. Number one, I would say the importance of building contingency strategies in our supply chain. So talk about supplier selection. Instead of having, focusing on low-cost supplier or one specific supplier, we look at different suppliers with different locations and different, flexibility parameters, because this is a game changer now. Procurement is supplier or vendor management is one of the key pillar of the way we look at the strategy now of supply chains. Yes. Number two is having logistics as part of the supply chain strategies. In a couple of companies, they would say logistics is transportation. We just, call the transporter to move the truck from here to there. But now actually, it showed us how logistics and third-party logistics partnership relationship is very crucial in order to be able to manage the changes and manage the being ahead of the game and change the way we are in the marketplace and the way we are against our competition. So logistics now is not transportation of trucks, it's actually relationship and building a long-term relationship with a 3PL or within our vendors. Number three, I would say the importance of complexity analysis and SKU rationalization and the impact on supply chain. This is not a pure supply chain strategy, it's a whole company strategy, which earlier, I would say it was in some companies, in some industries, it was ignored. However, now it's, I believe it's one of the focus areas, because we need to be less complex, and that will enable us to be ahead of the competition. Last but not least, technology. And when we talk about technology, there are, technology in transportation, technology in planning, integration of supply chain, ERP systems, blockchain now as a new terminology which we started to use. It's not a decorative enabler anymore. It is a core and main pillar in establishing a very strong integrated supply chain and help us to take intelligent decisions using scenario analysis and so on. So it is now transforming to be one of the key aspects of how we run and how we build our strategies in the supply chain.
Excellent, excellent. So your views are around, you're talking about supply chain strategies, whether it is sourcing strategies or logistics relationships with 3PLs, with service providers on long-term basis, as well as rationalization of the products, etc., from company profitability, maybe perspective, not only supply chain perspective. And final point is including the advanced technologies. in the supply chain, whether it is digitization or use an advanced technologies in various operations and even in planning. Thank you very much. Let me go with this, saying this to Yasser again. What do you think, Yasser? What is the role of advanced technologies on the future supply chain management?
Yet for the advanced technology, that will be the way of working in the future. Let me just pick one example.
Not only the supply chain, you mean? I agree.
Yeah. Let me just pick an example. In North Africa, Middle East, we operate in 10 factories in 6 countries in the Middle East. One of those factories is the Dubai Personal Care Plant in Dubai, which has been inaugurated in December 2017. Dubai Personal Care Factory was the first factory in Unilever to be awarded by the World Economic Forum for the lighthouse for the 4th Industrial Revolution. Now, the advanced technology and the digitalization connection of the factory and the Digital for Factory program has enabled us during the pandemic and the lockdown. We had some operators has been locked in Abu Dhabi, for example, which we cannot transfer them to Dubai. And we managed to operate the whole mix plant and the make plant virtually without even being operators to be physically in the factory. So this is actually the digital era. These are the advanced technology that we are talking about. Operating a complete mix plant virtually without actually having a human to touch the machines in the factory during the operation. These are the type of industry, this is the type of shift change that actually we are looking for in the future. And this is what you could talk about, if you did talk about advanced technology, this is the advanced technology we're discussing now. Now, the same thing will be rolled out across the factories. It's not only in the MENA region. This is actually the direction of Unilever globally, and we have multiple examples. I will not go to Brazil, and what has happened in Brazil, where the tower of the detergent production, even with artificial intelligence, start predicting even the running parameters of the tower without even human intervention. So this is what you talk about, the advanced technology that we are thinking about now.
Splendid, really very interesting. I would love to see and hear more about this, maybe in a different occasion later on. We should connect and have some time to discuss this.
Most welcome.
Thank you very much. Dr. Hannah, I have another question for you. We are talking about disruption, and we are talking about the COVID-19 impact on the supply chain. And we know that the impact of COVID is almost on all sectors of life, not only supply chain or not only business. But how can the supply chain management help? We know the important role of supply chain in general. But within these circumstances, within this uncertainty and unprecedented event of COVID-19, how can supply chain management help business and industries to survive from this negative impact? Dr. Hannah?
I was on mute, yeah. Let's identify first what is the negative impact on business. I would say number one would be the cost. So the high cost of operations or the high cost of transportation, including the operations, high cost of write-off in some industries, and the high cost of existing in certain countries due to the complexity of COVID and complexity of regulations and so on. So overall, high cost impacted the P&L negatively for our companies. The second one is not only high cost. We are talking about some products became either obsolete or not required anymore, or we need to compete in the market with new products because the need now having COVID is different. So we are talking about operating costs, which supply chain management need to the lead of it. And the second one is a new product introduction, or NPIs. These both are very major, I would say, complexities impacted the whole business due to COVID. So when we talk about cost, how supply chain management can help that, I would say again, it's not new, but actually it's became a top priority in our strategies, which is in the short term, the operational and tactical steps we are doing. Quickly recap from this negative impact on our P&L. So you will find so many companies started to work on centralization, trying to reduce the operating cost in factories by combining more products in one location to be able to reduce the operating or manufacturing cost. You will find that we are talking about transportation. So operating from the factories to our distribution network to the customers. This operations, which is a transportation cost, working aggressively with our vendors, or if there are companies which operate this by themselves, how to minimize the cost of operations as fast as possible. And these all costs are actually to minimize or to mitigate the costs of write-off across the whole supply chain. In some companies hit a lot. We are talking about millions of dollars, which is really, you know, it required a contingency actions to be able to react fast. When we talk about the second pillar, which is NPI, or new product introductions, in most of the companies, the function of new product introductions is under supply chain. So it's led by supply chain. In some companies, it's under marketing. So the function is under marketing. However, again, the real work is led also by supply chain. So I would call this function role becomes very, very important, more than before. And it needed all the supply chain guys, starting from factories until the planning, to collaborate very aggressively, very intensively with this function to make sure that we are responding quickly with the right products in the market to be able to compete and stay in consumers. I would say these impacts, which required supply chain management techniques or strategies to be changed to be able to react to the negative impact of COVID and make our supply chain as a competitive advantage, not only as, you know, a function to produce and ship.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hannah. You started talking about the cost as a main parameter of supply chain. How can supply chain help organizations and businesses to optimize their cost? And you also mentioned NPDs. Finally, you mentioned also the service level, or the maintaining the supply. You see, in the COVID-19, there was some emergencies coming up to supply certain materials, commodities, vaccines, etc. So those are also challenges that can supply chain can play a vital role in supporting the businesses and the industries as well. Thank you, Dr. Hannah. I don't know if we still have time. I think we will have some. We will leave 5 minutes for questions and answers. If anyone can let us know. I think if you want, I have another questions. We can continue with last question for you, Yasser.
Sure.
Well, let's talk about how we can adopt our supply chain. You talked about the use of advanced technologies, and you have practical examples. So for those who haven't yet adopted the advanced technologies, or just working as a conventional setup, how do you think supply chain should be coping up and adapting to the rapidly changed industries in the future?
Yeah,
give us advices from your own experience, maybe.
Okay, that's for sure, no problem. If I just let me just give a very quick comparison. What's happening in the history and where we're going in the future. Yeah. If I recall, in the 1870s, when the start of the telephone at the global level, it took almost around 50 years to have the first 1 million users of the normal telephone in their houses. 50 years for the first million. When we start having the mobiles in 1980s, it took us almost around 10 years to have the first 1 million users around the globe. 10 years for the mobile use in 1980s. In 2009, with the WhatsApp startup, it took WhatsApp to have the first million in 2 years' time. With the Geo application in India, it took 6 months for the first 100 million.
So it becomes shorter time to understand.
6 months for the first 100 million. Fantastic. And this is actually the digital era that we are living in. And we need to go up with this kind of rapid change in the industry and in the globe. So the digital capabilities are very important to empowering our employees as productive as you can, and work actually in their best potential to achieve the highest level of efficiency. Some key shifts in supply chain that we are seeing with our experience during 2020 and what we're seeing in 2021, which is, for example, the automating the predictables. We need to digitalize and speed up whatever we can have through a certain algorithm, and really focus the human for the innovations and creativity. So whatever can be done by computers and algorithm, let's save the human brains for the new innovation and new creativity. Then the real-time visibility and analytics. The world moving very fast, very fast. And you cannot co-opt this actually with the traditional way of working. That's why you need to digitalize all whatever you're getting from the market and from the application, and you need to have a certain programs in your operation to start adapting whatever information coming from the digital application that we are using. The digital awareness of equipment and factories, and this is exactly what you're doing in the digitalizing the factories and really to co-op with the speed of change that we're trying to do. Then elevate actually the human focus of innovation, as I already just mentioned. Now, the dashboard that we need to shift it from just to get information to a logs. So dashboard was being utilized just to understand, analyze what we need to do, but now actually the logs has, with artificial intelligence, start even changing the machine's parameters much faster than the human as well. Then the data fluency for the operation at all levels in the organization. That should be a differentiating factor for the operation where you have this kind of data fluency, where all the predictability and the digital tools that can predict even the, for example, the consumer habits and the future forecast as well. Then the move to sales or the online sales. It is the only increasing trend, and the increasing actually on our online sales last year is actually a power reflection of the new trend that we are seeing today. So we need to move very fast for the new era of digitalization as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Yasser. Thank you, really. Let's have a couple of questions I'm receiving here from delegates. I will say the question, and I think Dr. Hannah, you can take the first question from delegates. The question is key decision making in developing stronger supply chain for future. Decision making in developing the stronger supply chain. No, key decision making towards developing the stronger supply chain.
Stronger supply chain during COVID.
Yes, developing stronger supply chain for the future.
Yeah, so, so I think I have touched base on the key areas which we really need to focus in the coming period due to COVID implications on our business and our life. Whole life changes now. So I would say we have to focus on our vendor management area, which is including suppliers of our materials, raw materials, and including our vendor of operations, either it's 3PL, 4PL, even our customer relationship. If a specific company is working with distributors in certain countries, so to make sure that the integration, the end-to-end integration, which actually it's something there for so many years, but earlier we used to consider it as advanced stage of integration. So when they introduced integration so many years back, more than 20 years back, we used to say we start with internal integration first, which is a company internal integration through S&OP, IBP, and so on, and then we go for external integration with our vendors and customers. Now it is the time to really focus on the external integration and understand the complexities with our partners, and actually reflect that into our internal strategies, and have kind of flexibility to change if required, because our partners became part of our strategy as well because of this COVID implications. So this, I would call it a very, very crucial part. We can't work in a silo anymore. We can't operate in silo anymore. Companies need to be more integrated together. That's a key factor.
Thank you, Dr. Hannah.
Number two is, again, technology is not a decorative enabler. It is a key of our changes now. There are many companies which established, APO systems with all the modules on top of the APO, just for the sake of having a system in place. Now we are talking about blockchain, which is something, it needed us to understand where we are internally and then do blockchain, which is very advanced technology. And in the surveys now in 2021, one of the top key strategies in 2021 is blockchain. We need to understand what benefits we can help us and how.
Okay, I think this is good enough. We can move on. By the way, most of the questions are already we touched upon, and we had covered maybe in one way or another, but let us take this final question. For you, Yasser, if you can please very briefly try, because we don't have enough time. It's talking about how to overcome risk in supply chain in upgrading new skills and technologies.
I think I have already mentioned this.
As I told you, but briefly, please.
It's okay. It's either actually we need to leverage with the big multinational companies about the global scale, the local scale, the localization, the use of third parties in the countries, just to make sure that you're delivering the required products to the consumers in a very short period of time. The other one, which is the digitalization and the digital capability, need to keep investing in the people capability in the new era that we are operating with the advanced technology and the digital way. The world is changing. This is a message to everyone, and you need to keep adapting yourself. You need to unlearn whatever you have actually in the past, and you need to learn new skills. And by doing this, you'll be coping up with the new changes that happening around us in the globe. This is
excellent. Yasser, we are running out of time. Excellent. Let me conclude with this. With your message. It's a fantastic message. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Hannah, also for your valuable contribution. I would like to thank both of you, of course, for our fantastic panelists for this valuable inputs. And this was a very important topic, talking about COVID-19 and how the supply chain can contribute in mitigating this huge risk and impact. Thank you again for this opportunity, and hope we can connect in future and keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Most welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Hannah. I think she is having some connection problems, maybe.
I'm back now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Concluded, unfortunately. We run out of time.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think you heard the most of the things.
Input.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Rohan, I think you are, the mic is yours.
Right I'm right here.
We
yeah,
apologize
thank you so much.
if we took longer time, but you know, we were planning to have a fourth panelist speakers, ended up having two with some connectivity issues with Dr. Hannah. So again, my apology.
So it was a fantastic discussion, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and being here with us. Please do stay connected if you can. And there's a very, very huge response from the audience. There are a lot of questions, and we'd like to request all the speakers to stay with us until around 1:15 p.m. so that we can raise these questions and you can have you can share your views and thoughts on these. So thank you so much, Yasser. Thank you, Dr. Hannah. Thank you, Iyad. Moving. I would like to now introduce our next speaker, Vikram Kumar. He's the General Manager, Europe, Middle East, and Africa at OnRobot. OnRobot is a global leader in robotic collaborative applications. Vikram joined the company in December 2019. Vikram is in charge of the sales force to realize the company's high growth ambitions in the markets of Europe, Middle East, and Africa, which includes more than 15 countries, in collaboration with OnRobot's business partners in those regions. Vikram, there you go. The floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. If people can hear me, very, very good morning and good afternoon. I will just share my screen. So thank you everyone for joining here. We are OnRobot. We are calling us the company which is shaping the future of collaborative application. I'm the General Manager for Europe, Middle East, and Africa based in Denmark. This is my email ID. In this 10-minute session, I will like to tell you about our journey, our product portfolio, and how is the automation market and how we believe we can help this. And especially in Middle East and Africa, where it is a growing market, it can be very interesting for all of you guys this session. So thank you very much for coming and joining us. Just a brief about the company. We are a merger of 5 companies which came together in 2018. OnRobot is a Danish company which makes two-finger gripper. Optoforce is making force-torque sensors. This is a Hungarian company. Then there was a Perception Robotics, which was making gecko gripper. And then there was Purple Robotics in Odense, Denmark, making vacuum gripper. And then there was Blue Workforce in Denmark, in Aalborg, which were making cameras. This all 4-5 companies joined together in 2018 to be called as OnRobot from 2018. So we are making collaborative solutions for light industrial robot as well as for collaborative robots. Right now we are close to 200 people. We have our head office in Denmark, and we have our manufacturing facility in Budapest, Hungary, as well as in Denmark and America. We have an R&D facility in LA, Los Angeles, and then we have in Budapest and in Denmark, and we have around 7 offices, sales offices across the world, which is our own sales offices. We have extensive R&D capabilities, and we do all the development in-house. We are targeting around 40 to 50 products, both in software as well as in hardware by 2021, where all our partners and end users can see the benefit. What is collaborative robots or application as compared to industrial robots? Are basically they are safe, they can cooperate and with humans together, they can work together with humans. It is very simple to program. You don't need to attend any college or any special course to understand the programming. The implementation is very fast. It is out of the box and you can assemble it in half an hour. And then they take a very little space as compared to the traditional industrial robot. So that is where what is the definition of collaborative robots and application, where it can work together with humans with less space, fast implementation, plug and play, simple programming, and very safe. Our vision is to provide solution for all robots. We are the end of arm tooling or the solution provider for all robots. We want to cater to all application, whether it is machine tending, pick and place, quality testing, screwdriver, sanding, polishing. We have all the tools for all applications. We are trying to expand our portfolio and then for all industries. So basically a one-stop shop solution for all manufacturing industries need in their automation. These are our some pictures of our portfolio. We have a lot of stuff. We'll go a little bit, but the kind of automation task you have and whatever shape and size you want to lift, or different type of robots you have, or different type of product material, we have the solution for every application and industry, whether it is force torque sensor, finger grippers, vacuum grippers, sander, soft grippers, screwdriver, magnetic gripper, vacuum gripper. We have solutions for everything. Even though in 2020 it was a tough time for each company, still we are able to have more than 9-10 products which came out from our portfolio. So we had a single pad gecko, a 3-finger gripper, soft gripper, on robot camera, screwdriver, sander and polisher, then a 2FG7 and vacuum gripper for palletizing, and then latest addition in March was magnetic gripper. So even in this COVID-19 time, we did a fantastic work with expanding our portfolio by close to 10 new products, and we'll continue this journey. Who are following On Robot on LinkedIn or on Twitter, they can see this journey. And as you can see down below, all our products work with Kasao, Fanuc, Kawasaki, Kuka, Universal, Doosan, Yaskawa, Omron, Techman, Nachi, Hanwha, all our Denso, they are all, you don't have to do anything. You just have to have our product and the adapter, and it works seamlessly without any trouble. Just going in detail some of the product very quickly. This is a 2FG7, which is for payload 7 kilo, and it can even take on form fit 11 kilo. It is the fastest electrical gripper in the world, very close to pneumatic. It doesn't need any external air supply, so you save the money on having an external air compressor electricity, and the stroke length is close to 38 mm, and it is having a force of 140 Newton, which is as per the collaborative limit. Again, very fast return on investment, simple, easy to program, very precise information, nothing out of the box, plug and play. This one is also 3FG finger, which is a unique 3 rotating fingers where you can take cylindrical surfaces and you can use it in pick and place and machine tending and CNC application. It is IP67, so it doesn't have any problem with liquid handling, and it can carry up to 15 kilo from 4 mm diameter up to 176 mm. Again, one of the unique kind of 3-finger gripper in the world. All are electrical grippers, so you don't need any external compressed air or compressor or external electricity. They are, all our products are electrical based, so you don't need any external power or any external air or any other pneumatics, which in the long run in terms of maintenance is very, very effective because you save a lot of money when it comes to the running cost. We have our unique gripper 2-finger, which is RG2 and RG6. They have a payload of 2 kilo and 6 kilo, and they take care of pick and place application, and they have a very large stroke length. We also have a force torque sensor, which is used mainly in automotive and in grinding and polishing surface, where you need a complete control over the force and torque. So this is which gives you the precise information on force and torque in X, Y, Z direction. Again, out of the box, and it can provide you very, very good features and tasks when you are having insertion or assembly tasks. Then we launched our screwdriver. It is one of the best in its kind. It has a torque of 5 Newton and it can handle various kind of screws. It is based on magnetic. It gives you all the information whether it has done the screwing correctly, and so you get all this information. Again, it is based on on-robot easy one system, unified programming, and easy to use solution. So again, it's an electrical screwdriver, no pneumatic feeding required. This is a patented single pad gecko we have. This is generally used in electronics industry and in glass where the surface is clean. You just apply the force, mechanical, and it can take 1, 3, and 5 kilo, and it doesn't leave any mark on the surface. This is one of the unique gripper we have in the world. It can cater to 1, 3, and 5. We launched recently in February a vacuum gripper, electric vacuum gripper for palletizing. This is one of the first in the world which can handle brown boxes. If you want to lift brown boxes in logistic, it can take care. You don't need any external air, no external compressor, and it can handle up to 10 to 20 kilo of brown boxes without any problem. Just again, plug and play, very easy to use, compatible with 13 different robot brands we have. We have also launched our sander. This is for dirty job, which is sanding and polishing. So it is again with our force torque sensor, you get the control of RPM, speed, and torque, and you can do a lot of sanding, polishing jobs, whether in automotive, wood industry, blades, very, very efficient, no compressed air, and again, reducing your maintenance cost. We also have a grid changer where you can continue the operation 24/7. You don't need to change the material. You have in grid all these pads, and you can change it automatically by programming. So no human interface required. Recently, we launched our magnetic gripper. This is mainly for machine tending and CNC application where your surface is having some dirt. Then you can use through magnetic gripper, you can lift up to 10 kilo, and even after power loss, it will have the object sticking to it. Again, it comes out of the box. It is having the sensor which can do the part deduction, and then you can even depalletize it very easily from the program. This is the camera. It's a 2.5D. It's a very efficient camera. It can really work with a lot of contour space, and in quality, it ensures consistent quality. It can also deduct multiple objects and can minimize the cycle time. With 2.5D means that it can also take care of the depth of the height of. So if you have some stacking, it is able to deduct that. Again, all these products, when you line up, you are having 800 configurations which can work with different kind of solutions with different robot brands. So that is the uniqueness, and that is the value proposition what OnRobot is giving to all their customers and partners. I think so everybody knows about it. Generally, why people want to go for automation is because of the rising labor cost, and it is also difficult to get the skilled people. Also, if you want to increase the efficiency of the plant, this is the best way. If you want faster return on investment and you want to have a higher scale of production, 1, 2, 3 shift, you can do with the machine without hiring the people. So it also saves cost. There is also less work accidents. And if you want to do a lot of innovation, you also tend to go for automation. We have a lot of case stories on our website, onrobot.com, how many companies who want to go for automation has done this by going for automation. So you can please go and visit our case stories and you can see how you can help it. Quickly coming, the world, we have only 9% automation in the world in terms of, though automation has been there for a decade, but it has been there. Only 9% of the manufacturing in the world is done by robots. So we have a lot of opportunities because generally automation was used in automotive industry, electronics, and metalworks in these traditional. And as per Boston Consulting Group, because of COVID and the scenario, we expect to grow automation to 25% by 2025. So it is quite good motivating for all the manufacturing and all the partners and all the automotive automation companies that the automation is in the right track. In terms of industrial robot installation, for the first time in 2019, the figure went down from 422,000 to 381. On the left-hand side, it was projected that it will grow. And due to Corona, this will further go down in 2020. And this is the important figure. A lot of people talk about that Asia has a cheap labor and Asia has a lot of whether we should go for automation in Europe or in Middle East, but Asia has a lot of people and Asia has even lower cost. But if you look into this figure, which is from IFR, that is International Federation of Robotic Association, Asia has been buying alone 65% of the world robot for last 10 years. Europe is only 19% and America is 15%. These are the facts. So even when in China or in Japan or Korea, where China especially, where they have a high population, high low labor cost, but still they have been investing in the automation for last 10 years and buying 50% of the robots. The only reason was to increase the efficiency, the production, the quality, and if you want to play volume game, you can only do that with automation. This is how the world distribution of industrial robots and collaborative robots looks like in 19. Again, you can see China leading the way with more than half of the entire world robots sold in that country. Then comes Japan, then United States, Korea, and Germany. These 5 countries constitutes more than 75% of the world robots. And if people talk about labor issues, we have a lot of labor, we have cheap labor, then especially China, why they are investing in this kind of setup. If they have 1.6 billion people and they have cheap labor, the people have to answer that solution, because automation is something we need to change about the mindset. It helps and it will cooperate with humans to do their tasks much more efficient, in quality and in productive way. It is not going to take their job. It is going to help us and help human and help the companies becoming more efficient. This is the density of the robot per country, per 10,000 working employees. And we can see Singapore, Korea, Japan, Germany, Sweden, Denmark, they are really having high numbers of robot per density per 10,000 people. And these countries also have a very competitive economies when you go to World Economic Forum. So the more robots you have, the more automation you have, the strong and robust manufacturing industry you have, the better GDP control you have. Because GDP is made through a lot of parameters, but if your manufacturing is strong, it is highly automated, then your economy of the country is also very, very competitive. Again, coming back, we have all the solution for all the industries, whether it is automotive.
Sorry to interrupt, Vikram, but we are really running short of time, so kindly conclude. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we provide all the solution for all the industries. We have different application as we discuss about. One stop, plug and play, one system, and electrical gripper. Long run perspective for robotics remain very nice. People are going for Industry 4.0. Electric is giving smaller carbon footprint. There are still many dirty, dull, dangerous jobs and delicate which can be avoided by humans. Ease of programming will help. Travel restrictions is again giving, and COVID is also giving a time for localization. First time localization is talked about. So in Middle East, we have a lot of consumption, and if Middle East industries adopt automation and go for much more into the manufacturing side, it will also help the region and many companies. So please use the advantage of localization. World is back to normal manufacturing as per JP Morgan. The world is producing the same as it was producing before COVID. So people, if are not having the job in manufacturing industry, they have to think about it, because as per JP Morgan, the world is producing the same in private manufacturing as it was doing before COVID. And time to embrace automation is now. Please don't wait. Please go for automation immediately. It will help you and all your companies a lot. So thank you very much. Sorry if I took the time.
Thank you, Vikram. Great presentation, and we certainly feel that the time for automation is now. My apologies for interrupting you, but we're really running short of time, and we've got speakers lined up for the rest of the day, and they've taken their valuable time. So thank you so much. To all the audience, Vikram will be available on his booth. All of our sponsors have their booths. So if you go to the sponsors and partners section on our platform, if you have any questions, please do feel free to raise them over there. We will now have another 15-minute networking break. Again, please remember to network and visit the sponsors and partners section. Remember, the more you network, the more chances to win the gift vouchers. The time is 20 past 12 right now. So we'll come back in 15 minutes once we finish the networking break. We'll see you back at 35 past 12. Please enjoy the networking break. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had a great networking session. Now, getting back to the conference, we now have our next speaker, Martin. Martin Gill is the EMEA Business Development Director at Lighthouse Systems, a manufacturing quality and meteorologist specialist by trade. Martin has worked closely with global companies, specializing first in the promotion and implementation of quality systems, and then of manufacturing execution systems across all manufacturing verticals. From decades of experience, Martin fully appreciates what it takes to make a success and deliver value for money to customers. Martin, we all heard your expert comments yesterday in the panel discussion, and I was particularly very impressed. And the topic that you've chosen today, what will be the risk to your business if you resist in investing in digital manufacturing solutions? It's something that I'm really looking forward to. I think it's highly important to have this discussion for the local manufacturing sector. There you are. Hello, Martin. So over to you, and looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much for the introduction there. So what I'm going to do first of all is share my screen, and hopefully I will do this correctly, and I will share the correct screen. Okay. So yes, I'm going to touch on what might be regarded by some as a rather sensitive subject. And whereas we're going to be addressing unlocking the region's manufacturing potential, I want to talk about, and really referencing my experience with working in the Middle East for the past few years, and specifically around what will be the risk to your business if you resist in investing in digital manufacturing solutions. And I was interested actually with what Vikram was showing with OnRobots just now, and he showed a few graphs which I found very interesting, but also very comparable with what I'm going to be talking about here. Not necessarily the subject, but certainly the adoption of the technologies that he was showing. So I was very impressed. So let's address the question straight away. So what will happen? Well, the answer is simple. You'll get left behind. You will struggle to compete globally, and Vision 2030 will be nothing more than a pipe dream. Now, these are sensitive subjects, but the adoption for the technologies in the Middle East, particularly around the top floor to the shop floor, with manufacturing software has been really quite slow. And my experience, as well as many other speakers here, is global, not just regional. And we see this in Europe and across Asia and in the Americas. So let's have a look at the global manufacturing hubs here. And if we take the top 10, you'll see that China naturally leads the way with 28.4% is the size of their manufacturing hub. And again, going back to what Vikram was showing just a few minutes ago, that this table here is very consistent with what he was showing with regard to the robot adoption, automation in these other countries. But I found it interesting. I looked at the top 20 and the GCC region wasn't even in the top 20. It was something like 22 or 23. I can't remember exactly what it was, but you'll see it's quite low. And I highlighted it in red at the bottom right-hand corner of that graph. But if we take the GCC more specifically and we look at the GDP by the main economic sectors, you know, obviously crude, petroleum and natural gas is the major activity, manufacturing activity or activity for business in the region. But manufacturing only represents 10.9% of the GDP in the GCC region. And we've heard about the Vision 2030. I don't know if it's a directive, whether it's an instruction or whether it's even a vision for the Middle East, but it's there, and there is obviously documentation and information on their web to verify that. But if we now look at, so what are the leading manufacturers doing to stay ahead? And I'm going to be talking more about Europe because this is where I'm based most of the time, and they have connected factories. You know, I'll go into these bullet points a little bit more detail, but connected factories, they're making technological advances. They have corporate strategic plans, and they're driving conformance to process in their businesses. I'm not suggesting for a minute that these things are not happening in the GCC region, but these are items which have been adopted in Europe and around the world for the last 10 years. I mean, they're a long way ahead of the game here. And I'm just going to be talking more specifically. I can't talk about all those bullet points, of course, but I'm going to be addressing here one subject, which is around the connected factory. And I wanted to share with you, and it's not just what Lighthouse does, it's what other manufacturing software companies do as well. So I'm going to take very much a balanced view on this. So let's have a look at the top floor to the shop floor business. And this is a very high level overview that I'm going to share with you now. So typically, the connected business process in manufacturing would look like this. And this is high level, it's not detailed, it's high level. ERP would send planned production orders, which will be scheduled on the shop floor. This would go together with a maintenance plan to make sure that all the machines and processes are running correctly. That would go with setup instructions for the operator, or perhaps for the automation, where we have recipes connected to PLCs and machines and lines. We then commence with the execution process, so my manufacturing execution process, by connecting to those machines. That would be, and tool management would then cross-reference with the machine to make sure that the right tooling is being used on those machines and lines. We then move and consume the bill of materials or the inventory into the manufacturing process, and then we'd have regular replenishment. But meanwhile, we'd be monitoring production counts, waste, tracking waste, downtime. We'll be creating inventory, printing labels as we palletize products, and then we'd move this inventory into the warehouse and then send confirmations back to ERP that the production order has been completed. But it might be that we have semi-finished goods, which will move back into local storage, maybe onto other manufacturing lines within the business, or perhaps another factory within the enterprise. And then the goods would go to outbound shipping and logistics. But we may have incoming goods, inbound goods from our supply chain, which may move into the warehouse, and you may perform incoming inspection to make sure, maybe by way of certificates of analysis, that the goods are correct and they can be moved into the lines. But then we'll be monitoring process parameters from machines like temperatures, speeds, cycle times. We'd be doing line side measurement with metrology equipment or inline weighing scales for check weighing, and laboratory checks using LIMS. But as isolations occur, or waste occurs, or perhaps scrap occurs, Then we raise concerns, corrective actions and preventative actions. We'd have planned maintenance activity in a factory where maybe every shift or every day or once a week, we would perform maintenance to make sure that we have full or 100% optimization within the plant. But then we'd have unplanned maintenance, which may become as a result of downtime. A line or a PLC signal may tell us that the software that machine's down, we need to do something about it. So that's unplanned. That costs money. And then we can monitor energy, the utilities, gas, water, electricity in a factory to make sure that the consumption is optimal. And then we track manpower. These are all key elements for showing the connected business process in manufacturing. This is the top floor to shop floor. And if you're familiar with the S95 pyramid, this is ERP at level 4, MES at level 3, and machines and automation at level 2. There's more information on our website if you wish to look at that. But then you have the disconnected factory. So on the one hand, we have this connected factory, and then we have this disconnected factory. And we talked about this just yesterday, and somebody brought it up yesterday in one of their talks, is that Microsoft Excel is being used to run businesses. It's just not sustainable. There are tools out there, and they've been here and there for many years to do this connected approach with manufacturing execution software. But now I'd like to look at the disconnection where we see it. So one of the comments made yesterday by a gentleman in the talk here is about people in a business, because they're responsible for how the business is run and how manufacturing is managed. And we typically see before MES is implemented or manufacturing software is implemented that you have silos of information where you have people sat behind their desks, perhaps in the same office, working with maybe Excel, Microsoft Access, or other office tools, or maybe some siloed applications for doing specifics. And one person maybe from planning, somebody from quality, the production manager, the maintenance manager, the health and safety person, the supply chain manager or director, but they're working in silos. But what manufacturing software does, it brings everybody around the same table. This is exactly as it happens in Europe. So you have all these people working around the table with a connected factory in this sense here, and it removes the boundaries and silos of information which you might otherwise see, which results in seeing unique and consistent data. It becomes very relevant, it becomes contextualized, and it's real time. Real time means you can make decisions, informed decisions based upon real data. And that allows the real-time alerts, sharing of information, advanced reporting, the reporting engines in MES software solutions, again, not just in Lighthouse, but in other solutions, is so advanced you can get everything you need, and you can drill down to specifics to find out where costs, where it's affecting your business cost-wise. And decisions, the informed decisions that you can make as a result of collecting this data are immense. So what other manufacturers have done to achieve and sustain their brands? I'm using that word sustain a few times here. And these are just companies who have implemented MES. United Biscuits, a part of the Pladis group, improved capability by 22%, increased productivity by 12% at Ball Packaging, the largest can maker in the world, where they have the software installed across 80 factories. Enhanced productivity at Formica. Traceability 100% at Nissan, where they assemble the vehicles like the Qashqai, the Note and the Micra in plants in the UK, Russia and Spain. 18% reduction in raw material at Linpack. 50% improved sampling throughout. Now, the key thing here is that there's a consistent message there: improved, increased, enhanced, and reduction. These things are so significant when you're wanting to create sustainability in your business. And these messages or these notes were made several years ago. So these are ongoing enhancement, ongoing improvements to their businesses. It will never end. So what will happen if you resist the investment? You will not be competitive in a rapidly growing digital world. It's just a simple message. And I'm sorry if it's sensitive to a lot of people here, but I'm visiting companies now, still now, that I visited 6 years ago, having the same conversations. And something really does need to happen if the GCC region is going to be competitive. And so before I finish here, I'd like to, with 10 minutes, it goes quickly, I'd like to point you to the Gartner report from 2020. This is Gartner, very much the authority in manufacturing software, covering, you know, the top floor to shop floor landscape. And if you go to our website, you can read the report where there are all the MES vendors, not just Lighthouse. I think this report covers 20 vendors, and you'll see how they feature and how they perform with their software at manufacturing companies, whether it's discrete process or high volume or batch manufacturing processes. So I encourage you to take a look at that report. 10 minutes goes quick, and there's obviously a lot more I can say about this, but if you want to learn more, then please contact myself or my colleague who's joined me on this particular event. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Martin. If you can just stay with me for a bit, please. We've got about 4 or 5 questions that were raised in the past 10 minutes from the audience, and I'm just gonna just compile all these questions into one question that will answer all of them. I'll try to do that.
Okay.
I mean, we heard you yesterday, and we had some really insightful thoughts in this morning, wherein, you know, at the CIO panel we had you know, people talking about some of our speakers talking about conceptual execution is a gap, and you know, a lot of companies, they have this dilemma of technological selection, which vendor to go with. Now, my question to you is 90. I mean, I was reading in the newspaper today that 90% of UAE's manufacturing sector is actually SMEs, right? And like you mentioned in your presentation, that a lot of companies here, they still work on Excel, and they really need to you know, start using the right tools. So to sum all these questions into one question, to make it easy for you, what is your message to these SMEs and these organizations? What are the basic foundations of digital transformation? If they need to go through the connected factory system, and if they need to start working somewhere, where should they go from that start line? What's the foundation of this digital transformation process for them? What will be your key message to them?
Yeah, okay. So off the cuff, the easy answer to that is educate the executive group in the business. The executives are the ones who are the economic buyers. These are the people with the strategies, responsible to the shareholders of the business. It's very important that they understand the benefits, which have really got to be led by the senior management within a business. So it's all about the people. It's understanding where the pain points are in a business, the critical ones, not all of them, the critical ones, and this step-by-step journey. I mentioned yesterday about the gradual approach. If you do the big bang, it's featured to fail. But actually speaking to people in the business, identifying where the issues are, but actually, I suppose educating the executive group is not the right way to describe it. I think is making informed decisions and set out a plan of what benefits it would bring to the business, and then share it with the executive group so that they can actually think about the investment and how it would run with their strategy for their business and for the future. It's a long answer.
I think you. Yeah. Yes, and that was a great way to answer it in as short an answer as it can be. So thank you so much, Martin, for that. And I'm sure a lot of delegates took a lot of learning from this. And to all the attendees, Martin will be on his booth, Lighthouse Systems. So if you have any further questions, please feel free to approach them directly. Thank you so much, Martin.
Yeah, thank you very much
for that presentation. It was great to have you here. All right. Well, that was Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, now we move forward to our next panel discussion that talks about the future of operational excellence in the era of digital innovation. Again, a very interesting and very important topic. We've got our esteemed panelists who are joining us here, Mr. Nimboka. We have Mr. Luke, who's joining us from Belgium, and we've got Mr. Chakrabarti. Now, Our first panelist, Mr. Niboka, we heard him yesterday. He was born, brought up in India. He graduated in mechanical engineering and he took his master's in international trade management. He worked globally in leadership roles for companies like Reliance, Lloyd's, and now with Dolphin Group. He's got 28 years of learning in manufacturing, supply chain, marketing design, implementing quality systems, lean initiatives, industrial automation. And presently he's working as Chief Operating Officer with Dolphin Manufacturing Limited. Our second panelist is Luke Rossum, currently employed as Vice President Manufacturing at Samsonite. Throughout his career, he have held several positions working for multinational companies, from demand and supply manager to head of supply chain and SNOP, Director of Global Operations and PMO, Divisional Plant Operations Director, Vice President Manufacturing. He holds API CS, CPIM, CS, CP, and SCORP, Lean and Six Sigma Black Belt certification. So welcome, Luke. And our third panelist is Mr. N.C. Chakrabarti. He's a data and emerging technology enthusiast, has 27 years of professional experience in different roles in multiple domains and geographies. Mr. Chakrabarti has worked in different profiles in continuous manufacturing operations in downstream O&G, chemical industries covering operations, process optimization, automation, IT services. And as Vice President, he's currently leading smart manufacturing, the futuristic technology initiatives at Reliance Industries Limited, Mumbai, India, accelerating digital transformation in manufacturing, leveraging IIoT, robotics, mobility applications, predictive and prescriptive analytics. So it is my pleasure to welcome you all, Mr. Luke, Mr. Niboka, and Mr. Chakrabarti. Are you with us? If you can just turn on your camera, please. There you go.
Thanks. Thank you.
I'll now pass on the floor to in your capable hands. Please carry on your discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohan. Thanks for the introduction. Is Shankar here? Shankar, are you there?
Yes, he's just joined us, Mr. Chelam.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And my name is Shankar Chellam, and I am a pharmacist. I have 18 years experience in the pharmaceutical manufacturing in handling of automated process equipments and practicing operational excellence tools like Lean and Six Sigma tools. I'll be moderating this panel, and I'll be having some really great panelists and experience in the manufacturing and supply chain and other domains. Mainly, there are three panelists. First one, I think they are introduced themselves, Mr. Nimborkar, and second, he's the Chief Operating Officer of Dolphin Manufacturing LLC UAE, and Mr. Luke, he's the Vice President of Manufacturing, Samsonite, Belgium, and our third panelist is N.C. Chakrabarti. He's the Vice President and Head Smart Manufacturing Reliance Industries India. They will introduce themselves in brief during their discussion. And our first question is to Mr. Chakrabarti. The relation between the Industry 4.0 and lean manufacturing, how it is connected. Can you just put your thoughts on that, please?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chellam, for introducing.
Yeah.
And we are already introduced by Rohan, so we'll not go for any more introduction. So this is the really interesting conversation when people ask that what is the relation, how the lean manufacturing is going to be enabled by Industry 4 technologies, or there is a question that is it relevant now, the lean manufacturing or lean principle at present. So in the last 2.5 decades, manufacturer adopted the lean principles mainly for creating continuous improvement. And this LIMS talks about eliminating waste and non-value added activities by reducing complexity and cost. It also provides a foundation to operational excellence by standardizing the process, empowering the workers on the factory floor. And so it also talked about truck planning, making transparency among the shop floor and the supplier and distributor. And while we're talking on this, lean, the manufacturing, the principles are going to still remain, and that is going to be enabled by the latest technology. If I give an example, in case of the lean, long ago used to have a visual board on the factory floor, but somebody has to go and update that visual board about the availability of the equipment, availability of the person, availability of the raw material. And that is once again was not so efficient because there is a lot of manual intervention is there. With the help of Industry 4 technologies, now this visual board has become digital. We don't need to go and update the things manually. It is in real time, the sensors, it is going to get updated. So transparency is becoming more relevant here now. And once again, as we talked about, lean manufacturing is talking to eliminate the wastage and reduce unplanned downtime.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talked about the advanced technologies, Industry 4 is actually enabling the execution in fostering of that principles also with the help of computational advancement. Industry 4 technologies like advanced AI and advanced robotic or the collaborative robots are now in operation in manufacturing shop floor to eliminate the wastage. If I give one example of eliminate of wastage, while you're talking about the product specification, product quality. So product now does not need to go to the laboratory to get manually analyzed to know its specification. The AI algorithms that can continuously work on the process data and tell us continuously what is the product quality. So we are not, the factory floor operator will not be waiting for getting the quality information from the laboratory. Now it will be continuously available, and in turn we are reducing the wastage because of the specification and in a lot of things. So if we talk about things, so it is always together is better and together is stronger, as we said. So independently working lean and independently on the Industry 4 technologies may give some amount of benefit to the manufacturer, but together, the complementing with each other, lean principles supported by the technology that is provided by Industry 4 technologies are going to provide us a lot more benefit than individually adopting those things. So these two will go hand in hand. And thanks.
Okay. By giving the cost benefits, the lean manufacturing process, it will reduce the waste and it will give the precise manufacturing procedures. Means is a perfect process flow it will make. By adding in 4.0, it will give the good cost benefits we are saying.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And thank you for the note. And the second question is actually.
Shalam, maybe I want to add a bit also to the thinking of or Shankar, sorry, to the thinking of Shalam on this lean versus 4.0.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a specific opinion on that. There is a lot of things that I agree that Shalom was saying, but here and there with a nuance point of it. You know, 4.0 these days is like, it's like a buzzword. Everybody is talking about 4.0, but it's not the wonder boy. So Lean has been there for 20 years or 30 years or longer, a few decades, and quite successfully actually. So all the things that you can reap from Lean, if you think a bit about, okay, what is Lean about, and Shalom has mentioned this as well, is that the core of Lean is just eliminating waste, right? And I don't know if you are familiar with the acronym of Tim Wood that describes all these or summarizes these forms of waste. So that's again, you know, for those, and we all know this, it's like transport, inventory, move times, wait times, overproduction, overprocessing, and defects. Now, we also know that from the Lean philosophy, 80% of the waste is wait times. Yeah. Again, then next to that Lean, what is major, let's say, approaches that Lean takes? This is the reduction of the waste. We have the production according to demand, the demand pool, and the continuous flow, producing on the takt time of the demand. We have the just-in-time, and we have the visual tools and the Kanban tools. Now, I can tell you from my experience is that, you know, Lean you can implement, and then I raise the question, where is 4.0 can contribute to that? Because you can do quite an amazing journey for Lean to have operational excellence and to reach continuous improvement goals quite successfully. So you always need to wonder and to ask yourself is that, what will I do with my 4.0? Where do I need it? Do I need it to analyze wait times? Probably not as much. Can you use it for defects? Yes, probably more. So it's where you need actually profound and more in-depth data for analysis that you actually can have 4.0 as well. And Shalom also said it, you know, for me is that Lean, 4.0 for me is an enabler. It's a vehicle, but it's not by 4.0 that you will reach operational excellence. It's more about what is the methodologies already that exist since a long time. We have Lean, but there is not only Lean. There is also Six Sigma, for instance. Once you start diving into these kind of methodologies like Six Sigma and Lean and quick response manufacturing, yeah, you have a journey of 2-3 years ahead of you. And then the thing is that yes, 4.2 can come in very, very handy because we all struggle with the same thing. It's about, on certain issues, it's about data accessibility. It's about having reports on the data to be able to manage the data. And this is where 4.0 comes in. So I would like to distinguish a bit about, and it's also a bit related to how do you start with this 4.0 roadmap or your 4.0 digitalization. You need to really investigate, you know, where do you need this digitalization and this data analysis? Where do you need it in your business to be able to then reach, which is the goal, which is ultimately it's operational excellence, right? It's improvement. So that's a bit of my my viewpoint on this first question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Luke. And the next point is the implementation challenges. The main point is, it is good to have the industry 4.0. The point is actually when we come for the implementation, the mid-sizes companies and what kind of implementation challenges we are anticipating, that if you can able to give some thoughts, it will be yeah, grateful. Mr. Nimborkar, if anything.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chalam. And nice to see Mr. Chakravarti and nice to connect with Mr. Lu. I've been introduced a couple of times on this discussion. So I will just talk a brief about my company and then come back to your question, which basically is about the implementation part and the sustainability part.
Okay.
So Dolphin is a worldwide group. We are into cooling solutions. So whenever there is heat and whenever there is unwanted heat, that needs to be removed. So let it be this room, or let it be your car, or let it be a locomotive or an aircraft. Wherever there is a heat which is not wanted, which is an unwanted heat and wants to remove, well, then we are there. So we have our actual presence in the US, in India, and over here. Plus, we supply products to more than 56 countries worldwide. So we are basically, this product line consists of radiators, oil coolers, charged air coolers, and heat exchangers of different types. And this is a very engineered kind of product most of the times. But we also sell to some of the automobile lines, which are kind of, made as per the OEM requirements. So we are a typical, we have our own design house, which takes care of the necessary calculations to provide solution, end-to-end solution to the customer. So that's what we are. Now, I look after the operations part of it, and all the operations related departments they are directly reporting to. Now, coming to your question of how to implement this, how to make it sustainable. Let me get back to the discussion which I was a part of since morning. It's really good discussion, like on how this 5G, the AI, Internet of Things, machine learning, all these things. And finally, what Vikram said and Martin also said is the connected factory concept. So how basically this journey first to start, then to take steps by step, and to make it sustainable. See, for me, by definition, sustainable means something which we are able to maintain at a certain level, right? So that's sustainable part of it, of the question. Now, I think the first step is basically for all of us at sea level. We should be first of all totally committed for this. How we should commit? Because see, we have here two ends to cater. First is the board, okay, the top management part of it, where we will discuss about the revenue part of it, the cost part of it, and what sort of the balance we can stuck in between these two to have this transformation. Since morning we have seen this transformation is irreversible. It cannot be stopped. We have, and we are, most of our industries, we are into it already. We may not be, knowing it, but yes, we are into it already. And this change, this transformation is certain. There is nothing, that can stop it. So we are into it already. The question is, as Rahil was discussing in the morning, whether it is 3 years or 5 years, we are all in here and we have to. There is no doubt about that. So the first part, first step is the self-transfer, that we as leaders, we should understand this first. That look, this is important and this has to happen. That is what I think the first step should be. Once that step is established, then of course the one side of it, as I explained to the board side of it, of course we should explain them and why all these changes and how irreversible they are, and if you want to remain as a global player, how important it is to do this. That is one part of it. The other part of it, now that's where the concept of the top floor to shop floor it goes. And then there lies the real challenges. And I will share with you some very interesting examples, which, because as far as Dolphin is concerned, we have already started our journey and we are cruising on. So for that journey, the first important thing is how we are kind of making sure unlearning is happening within us. That unlearning is most important first. and then learning about all these new things like, to make our factory a connected factory. That includes, as I told you, all the connectivity part of it, the machine learning part of it, and everything. So that when that stage, unlearning, proper unlearning has happened, then only, as I am from a farmer's background, so I would say that the land is fertile. Then you can further move on to this. So that is the first thing. Then the new talent. Okay, that's where also we have faced a lot of challenges, like getting the right people for this. Although Nancy was there in the morning, she was explaining, how the talent nurturing, in the colleges and universities. So far, unfortunately, I've seen very less, because maybe because of our kind of industry, which is a very niche industry. The kind of expertise that I get, in the market are really is a big challenge in itself. And I'm sure the universities and colleges and all this, they will also take care of this. And, in the days to come, as we transform along with everybody else. So I'm sure this change will also happen, properly. Then, as a leaders, our important task is to identify the inefficiencies within us. Okay, and this is something which is the most critical for any industry. Like of course there are external factors as was discussed since morning about, and yesterday also, about the supply chain side and market side, all that side. But what about within us? Within us also, as an organization, in each one of us, I'm sure will have the challenges. Those needs to be overcome, properly, taking each step. I'll share one very nice example with you. Since I told you we are into this heat exchanger and radiator manufacturing thing, this is mostly a fabricated thing. And like, people like, let's say one of my I would say the trade which I love is the welding part of it. And welding, as you know, is a very highly skilled operation. And when it comes to different alloys, especially aluminum alloys and very special alloys, is a very, very critical operation. Very few are blessed by the Almighty to do that kind of job. Okay, so first our task used to be, like since last 3 odd years, is to select this talent from different areas. And then one day we found that, okay, a robot can do this. A robot can do this. And when we decided to move ahead with this, the kind of resistance, now there is nothing, I'm not pointing out anything here, but you look from a welder's point of view. For him, it is his job that is in stake. So now what point I was trying to drive earlier was that unlearning aspect. Like, so a welder, if he has to understand that, look, there is nothing that is going to happen to his job. In fact, his job is going to be enriched by bringing in a robot. Because who is driving our robot? The welder himself is driving our robot. But how? Now instead of only doing one station, he is doing multiple stations. And that's how you enrich his job. And that's how we all move forward. Now that is something, Chalam, is needs to be taken step by step, and then arrive again. As I told you, because we at our level, we have to keep one eye very closely on the revenue side of it, how much is actually we are bringing, and other the cost side of it. So that, keeping that balance, I think stage wise, 3 to 5 years, I think this will all happen if at all we keep our eyes open and our mind open. So that's what I think the sustainability.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Anbodhar. And the next point is, but for this is a vision. Actually, this is a change from our normal conventional process to industrial 4.0. That's now it is not globally or widely it is implemented. It is the stages of every big companies, and they are just looking for this kind of technology adaptation. For implementing that, what is the effect on the process industries, in all the kind of process industries? What are the effects we are expecting? That can you just put some thoughts on that topic, Mr. Luke?
Yep, thank you, Shalom. I've always been
working in make industries, but I'm familiar with process industries. So like the chemical plants and pharmaceutical, a lot of food companies are really defined as process industries, right? So, but I think the challenges are the same for whatever industry it is. Industry 4.0 comes in, and again, I repeat, it's like a vehicle and it's a supporting tool for all the troubles that we face with data accessibility, capturing data, visualization, you know, really easy reporting and access to reporting, and in the end, managing all these data that we have to do something constructive with it and do something valuable with it. So the challenge for the industries is not that different. One of the things is that through my experiences, what I also experienced is that, you know, many companies still struggle with the basics. And I know, you know, I speak in a couple of conferences and supply chain conferences, and Industry 4.0 is very hot on the plate, yeah. But many companies are just taking the first steps in this. I will give you an example, like for Samsonite. When we were doing the analysis, and I also established a digitalization roadmap for 3 years for Samsonite, through several investigations that we did, you know, through suppliers, taking factory of the future surveys. You need to identify your gaps, right? And amazingly, yeah, like I said, you have to take sometimes basic level and sometimes steps back in this whole industrialization and in this whole 4.0 digitalization. The two main points that came out for Samsonite was a production, and I call it like a modern state-of-the-art production planning tool. And the number 2 was MES, to capture critical process parameters on the production machines. Yeah, so that were the two main challenges that came out of it and that we have with Samsonite. So, but again, this points to the fact that, yeah, we can talk about the skies and the very innovative technologies and things that Industry 4.0 can bring. But I think you have to take it a step back and analyze yourself. What is my company about? In which area specifically do I have challenges? And then you can work on a digitalization for that area. Yeah, because you cannot imagine that one day to another you say, let's make a fully connected factories. To what end? What is going to be all the value in it? Where do you take value out of it? And where don't you take value out of it? So it's a matter of also defining your priorities. And again, I don't think it's any different for process industries rather than make industries. They have a different production environment, right? But you need to take the same approach in identifying your gaps and your priorities.
If I can resonate with what Luke was saying, you know, in a process industry, like data collection is one of the most important factor in a process industry. And I used to remember my days in process industries when, you know, let's say you have a reactor, let's say, or you have a furnace which is getting fired up for the first time. Now, when you fire a furnace, there are different parts which gets elongated because of the thermal expansion, right? So we used to depute 3-shift 1 person just to measure the temperature at each point and measure how much is the physical elongation. Now you imagine that data to get transferred to us and then taking decision of controlling the temperature. I used to remember those horrible days. But now, you know, you get it on your mobile. I get all the data right there on my screen where, you know.
Always, yeah, digitalization, it will be better. And even I'm working in the pharma industry. The pharma industry already, it is moved from manual data to digital data. I think from 10 years, from at least 5 to 10 years back onwards, all the equipments are 21 part 11 CFR compliant equipments. All the data, it will be recipe driven process, and the data, whatever we are generating, it will be stored properly, and it can be able to archived and audit trail. This kind of technology is already developed, available, and in the pharma industry, since it is a control, it's a regulated industry much more. And
but digitalization is very valid. It's very valid. The point that I'm making is that put it where it adds value to the business.
Yeah, that's right.
First of all, yeah.
Yeah, and next it will be the data capturing and everything. At the next level is actually we are evaluating from this stage to next level for the artificial intelligence. This kind of things we have to just evaluate, and we have to, it will take some time, because whatever the changes, we cannot able to do the changes yes immediately. We have to assess it properly. We have to make the risk assessments, and we have to in the industries that we have to implement, and we have to make we have to bridge the gaps, and it will happen within a couple of years.
Yeah. One thing, what Luke was also saying, this how to identify the inefficiencies. Okay, one way would be just to look at your value stream mapping, in a lean, of course, and then you identify the areas. At least in Dolphin case, what we are doing is basically the pattern-based activities. Let us segregate those versus human cognition, where the human. So that, I think, if that is one area where we find most inefficiencies hidden, although they don't come up. So, and this digitization thing in this area is of immense help, I believe.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And almost this time up, that's why we will close this panel discussion, and thank you everyone for the discussion. And finally, we have some question and answers from our delegates. Actually, one of the question is, which is the best method to achieve operational excellence according to the whether it is a lean manufacturing or Six Sigma or Kaizen? As per me, these are three different tools to achieve the operational excellence in the industry. Depends upon the industry, we can able to identify what kind of tools required. Mainly, it's a different kind of approaches. PDCA, Plan to Check Act, and DMAIC. That means define the process and eliminate eliminate the waste. Define the process and measure, improve, analysis and improve. This kind of depends upon the industry. We have to evaluate first, then we have to implement the appropriate lean tools and methodologies. That's
there is also a distinct difference between. There's also a distinct difference between Six Sigma and Lean. Lean, the major points we already discussed about it. Six Sigma basically is working on process variation of your manufacturing control. So it's about process control. And this is where definitely digitalization and Industry 4.0 is definitely needed. You cannot do without it, because you first need to read out your critical process parameters to your product quality of all your production. And this is what you need as data to start working on improvements, right?
Yeah, I think time is up. Actually, if any further questions, they will come back. Yeah, Mr. Rogan.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chilaman. I wanted to have this conversation continue, but I think it's time that we take all our distinguished speakers in. So if I can request everybody to please turn on your camera and your speaker. There you are. I can see some of our speakers back again. So great to have, so many, individuals here, intellectuals on this topic. So we've compiled we've compiled all the questions that were asked by the audience during the day today, and it's an open discussion. I'm going to just raise the question, and please take it up. And if you want to share your views, it's an open platform right now. one question that recently came in to us was about the skill gap. The manufacturing sector has this challenge. I mean, every manufacturing company faces this about the skill gap. So please feel free to share your views on this. Let's start with Mr. Chakrabarti. How are you tackling the challenge of skill gap in the manufacturing sector when it comes down to your line of business?
Yeah, thank you. This is one of the most important challenge that we started facing when we started deploying these type of solutions. So the skills were not easily available, and even if I have skills available, the combined skill that is required to deploy the solutions are not available. We had the people who has the domain knowledge. We have the people who has the technology knowledge, AI or robotics or IoT. But when we do adopt a solution, we require the skills combination of this domain and the technology knowledge. And it was really very challenging to get a person who has both. So what we have started in our organization is developing people from inside. I have a person who are expert in the domain, so brought him or her from the her present role of doing in the shop floor or in technology or in R&D, and started imparting the knowledge of the technology. And it normally used to take some time, maybe 4 months or 5 months. And after that, it become one person having both the domain and technology. And the reverse is really very difficult. Just putting a technologist and allowing him or her to know the domain, and then having a combined skills with us. So in our way, we found it is advantageous to train the people from within who is having the domain knowledge and imparting the training. Obviously, this training is not only a just classroom training. This is a training on the project. Maybe the first project or domain and technologist work hand in hand. In the second project, domain takes more technology part. In third project, maybe domain person is able to do it 90% of it, or technology is supporting. And the reverse is also the technology person is going to learn the domain person gradually on the. So it's actually a combination of, in our case, sometimes we say it is, when it talks about the data scientist, we talk about the citizen data scientist, where we are developing our domain people, changing them from domain to citizen data scientist or citizen technologist also in another way. So that's the way we got from 0 to maybe 75 now. We cannot also say that we are at 100. The long way to go. But that's one of the thing. One of the way we found it is good for us to move on.
Thank you, Mr. Chakrabarti. I expected Dr. Nancy to raise her hand, and I wanted to come back to you to have your thoughts on this, please. Anyway.
Yes, great. Thank you. It's lovely to see everybody again this afternoon. I wanted to follow up on the point that was just made by my colleague, which is an excellent point. It requires two things. One, we need to have the human resources systems that reward this kind of behavior. We need processes and governance structures within the organization that reward people from going back and forth between domain and technology if we want to upskill and reskill employees in this way. We also need to recognize that this process takes place over and over again, most likely every 20 months, if not sooner. So this isn't a one-off. You need to start fostering and rewarding resilience in employees who constantly relearn new technologies. Thank you.
Very interesting point indeed. Mr. Nimboka, I saw you raising your hand. Would you like to add to this interesting discussion?
Yes. Very interesting discussion. What Mr. Chakrabarti also and Nancy just said. In our setup, we call it, what Mr. Chakravarti was saying is we call it the multi-scaling. If a guy already has this, can he add this to him? And, let's progress that guy also, let's progress the process also. That is one part of it. Another part of it, how we look at it is whether we can sort of outsource it, if possible, because there is always what I can say, a tussle between a specialist and a multi-skilled guy. Okay, a specialist, there is a need of specialists also in some cases, and of course, in a broader scale where you have multi-skilling for different. So I would say it's a healthy mix of both that probably industry requires. That's what I feel.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nimboka. Another question that I'd like to ask, and I see it's a great it's a group of people, because we have people who have a lot of expertise in Europe, and then we've got people such as Mr. Chalam, Martin has a lot of experience in the Middle East, Mr. Sridhar, Mr. Vikram, Dr. Nancy, Dr. Nimboka, who represent the Middle East region. The title of this conference is Future Factories Summit. My question to everybody, and please, I'll probably ask you guys, I'll come to you one by one. When do you think we can say the Middle East is home to the factories of the future? What's the time period that you guys look at? And when do you think we can say that, yes, Middle East is ready and well equipped? We'll start with Mr. Sridhar. Would you like to add something on it?
Yes, thanks. As I was mentioning in my discussion today morning, Rahil put this question across in terms of when we will be real future factory in. So roughly I said it depends upon one factor is that where we are at this point in time. Where are we starting a journey? That's the key point. And given from there, and the second thing is that when we start is to what extent is the blessings or the alignment with the strategy goals do we have in mind? Now, keeping these two in mind and looking at the tools and technologies available and where we are roughly putting Middle East, I put about 3 years in which the maturity level is there, the intent is there. And other key thing which has happened in the Middle East is COVID in a way is a blessing, because those companies and organizations which have earmarked on a technology journey before, and they saw a huge benefit, be it a simple online sale or a mobility in their warehouse. So it helped those companies, which means that people want to embrace the journey much faster now, the post-COVID era. So that all is the catalyst, so that I see that is the time frame, which is actually very, very fast, keeping for such a huge turnover.
Martin, would you like to add something?
Yeah, obviously, my views are a little bit different. Not that I want to disagree with you, Sabah, but in my experience in the Middle East, as I said in my presentation, I had conversations with companies 6 years ago, and the conversations are still going on today. And I'm sure Vikram is exactly on the same page with me as with this one and other vendors as well. But the adoption of this new technology is going to take a little bit longer than you think, unless something starts to happen soon. The Middle East will get left behind. I've seen it in Europe. I've been in this business for nearly 30 years, and you can see the gradual adoption in some regions versus the accelerated adoption. The US are so enterprising in adopting new technologies. They really do lead the way. Europe isn't far behind it, but the GCC and the Middle East, it's got more than 3 years to go, I'm afraid.
Sure. I totally agree with you. Mr. Nimboka, have we realized the potential of IoT in the region? A couple of questions were raised about this particular technology, IoT. I guess we spoke a lot about the connected factory and smart factory during the day. So what are your thoughts about whether the manufacturing sector in the GCC have been able to realize the potential of IoT? If not, then what are the steps that need to be taken?
Well, full potential, no, definitely. We have had a feel of it, and at different, depending on the kind of manufacturing, we have different things, but not to the full potential. Yes. So like when it can happen, of course, I can tell you a couple of things. Like I was hearing both Sridhar and Martin now. See, one part about Middle East, one thing which is very good here is that the willingness, right from the government agencies, right, a single window process, all those things, they are very, very conducive for this new age that we are looking at. So it is only a matter of time. Don't get, Martin, don't, it's only a matter of time. I know every good thing will take some, there is an incubation over there. I can see even Vikram also. But this thing is on, and it will happen in my, if not 3 years, what Sridhar is saying, at least 5 years, I think, it should be there, including this IoT. It's a big thing.
To add to that, Mr. Nimboka, I would say definitely before 2030, because when I picked up the Gulf News copy at my doorstep this morning, the first thing that I saw, and I don't know whether it was coincidence, but the first thing I saw is UAE government has launched the $300 billion project. I don't know if it's $300 billion, but then yes, the industrialization, the new strategy, the new regulatory, I guess, laws. So the UAE government has launched the Make in UAE program, and I'm sure it's going to benefit the local manufacturing sector. Absolutely. And that's when I saw that 90% of the manufacturing companies here are SMEs, and there's a huge scope of growth and huge scope of education. So I'm really sure. Rahil, would you like to share your thoughts about the realizing the potential of IoT? You can give us some examples of your experience in UK or Europe, maybe.
Yeah. So as Martin and others said that yes, there is a different rate of acceleration in various regions. IoT, I'm not sure. I mean, you have to look at connecting your processes. How you connect is actually vary depending on the kind of manufacturing that you are into. I think the key layer to see here is actually what is your foundational technology that is going to support your entire transformation journey. And those foundation technologies are only of very few. For example, if you want to have a very good connectivity across your value chain, or depending on how far your value chain is spread, you will need different approaches to connect them. And the very basic thing to connect data is, the networks. So will mobile private network bring an opportunity? Because then you can have your own private network across any landscape, mobile, fixed devices, any kind of devices. So you will have to think about what are the core building blocks of your transformation strategy. And those have to be focused on. And I think that is where the Europes and the Western countries are more advanced actually. I've been on such panels with other sessions on 5G and others. I've seen some people in Finland doing amazing work on 5G. They are even going to 6G and all that. They've done so much work actually in terms of connecting their cities, connecting their the government infrastructure, connecting their industrial private infrastructures, and creating that platform actually. So a lot of regulatory support or kind of government support is needed to create the platform, to build this and give the speed which is needed for the private sector or the public sector to actually then ride on top of it. Sure. Similarly for decarbonization, I mean, if I have to talk about decarbonization, is a very big impact actually in the business, in the entire ecosystem now. Every industry will have to think about reducing carbon footprint. So sometimes, these agendas suddenly come up and they disrupt what you were trying to do using Lean and using Six Sigma and all. You were trying to do something at a very lower level actually in the organization. Whereas suddenly there's a new factor which has come in, which takes you across your value chain and starts to make you think about end-to-end value chain rather than just your one single process of that manufacturing that you're looking at. So looking at also, there was a very good question about digital dexterity or digital capability in the organizations. There are so many different approaches. Now, if the HR has not woken up to this, you will never be able to achieve that. Because if you don't put digitalization as a key factor to assess your new recruit itself, how will you bring the talent actually? If you continue recruiting in the conventional ways, creating the job descriptions in the conventional ways, and keep hiring in the conventional way, and you, after the person has come in, you try to modify that person.
Yeah,
I would not do that actually. I would have to, you have to run the entire strategy, you know, from every aspect of the strategy, you know, every aspect of your functions in the organization. And that's where we have to do a lot of stuff actually to get where we are from. And again, it's not a destination. 3 years, 5 years is just some kind of a landmark actually on the journey.
right.
It's not the destination, because by the time you reach there, you might find something else disrupting us by then. So it's a very continuous journey actually. And IoT is maybe one of them, like connection. How do you connect? How do you connect people, process, equipment, data, and how do you connect with your supplier ecosystems, both inbound and outbound? And the most important part we are missing in most of the manufacturing discussions is customer. I never see manufacturing teams like these ever focus on customer actually. There is no dialogue discussion about customer. We don't keep customer in the center and then work around all of that as a nucleus. So that is a big mindset change which has to come in manufacturing, that how do we move from all these challenges to actually looking at what the customer needs. What is it that we are creating for that customer actually? Is it a product, or is it a service, or is it a long-term subscription, or what kind of revenue model do we have here? Sorry for a very long answer.
No, very well said. You of course, it was on point, absolutely. You've also received a virtual fist pump from Dr. Nancy. Dr. Nancy, I also see that you have raised your hand, so would you like to share your thoughts on this?
I would, thank you. I want to build on what Rahel was saying, which I completely agree with. And I think one thing that the Middle East and the North Africa have an advantage on is their ability to leapfrog legacy technologies and legacy infrastructure. Where the other place where they have an opportunity to leverage an endowment is with a very digitally literate, densely populated population in some of these countries, particularly in the Gulf region. The digital literacy of youth is something that can be leveraged in order to create factories of the future from the ground up. And places like the United States, while enterprising, are very much trapped into both technology and legal rules around operations that make it difficult to innovate. I'd also say that rates of acceleration are not linear. So we can accidentally go backwards in some cases, but McKinsey in 2017 anticipated that the transitions in the manufacturing industry would be complete globally by 2050. And I think part of that transition revolves around a lot of what economists call creative destruction, where we'll see, unfortunately, a fair number of people losing their jobs. And while new jobs will be created, those people won't have the skills to fill those jobs. And this is where I think actually the Middle East has an opportunity to become employers as educators, where the education system doesn't meet your needs, and this has already been referenced in this wonderful Q&A section. The industry manufacturers have to have chief learning officers, if even whole campuses, if you must. Wonderful example here in the region is Mujid Al Futain, which is actually in the retail space, but has a leadership learning institute where they train their 40,000 employees, understanding that retail will change. I think we need to see more exciting examples like that in the Middle East if we're going to leapfrog the challenges that are coming our way. But certainly 3 years is way too short of a timeline for the transitions we're needing.
Very well said, Dr. Nancy, and I'm sure we'll have many more exciting examples in the coming years. We don't have much time up our sleeve, dear panelists. Just a quick 2 questions. If you can just be precise on point on this, please. I'll pick it up from what Rahel said: customer and mindset. So if I can have Sridhar and Mr. Chalam talk about customer, why manufacturing sector has not traditionally focused on customer, and why is it more about processes and technology? So, I mean, what are your thoughts about it? And regarding mindset, I'll come to Vikram. So, Sridhar, if you can just to add to what Rahel said, customer, why don't we talk enough about it?
Yes. It was, I should take back in terms of a time when we were talking about a CRM as a concept was in its infancy stage then, when it was around customer, and that was the time when it was being spoken about heavily as a concept, learning curve, and so on and so forth. Now, from there, when we moved into technology and into Industry 4.0, it was more of the stress initially was in terms of learning, in terms of understanding, in terms of deployment kind of a thing. When the concentration was around internal, it sort of started focusing internally, and hence sort of I would say sort of a pause in terms of getting into a customer focus. But that is, of course, it'll take some time, but that is where the phase in terms of, we talk about in terms of manufacturing, going from a mass into more of a customized manufacturing, in terms of more of a, those are the areas we talk about, configure to order kind of a thing, or in terms of intelligence, which is there is inclusive intelligence, as I would call it. When I say inclusive, is in terms of all that the intelligence analysis reports, which was being internally generated, sort of it is getting into a phase where we sort of inclusive from a big data reporting and analysis kind of a thing. We are getting there, but it will take some time in terms of, so the original focus has been sort of core internal, hence there was a lack in terms of customers. That's, I agree with Rahel very much.
Very well said. Mr. Chilam, would you like to share your thoughts?
Regarding the customer satisfaction, customers require quality product, on-time product, and cost-effective product. The three things can be achievable by introducing this digital or Industry 4.0, this kind of technologies. We can rely on mainly this kind of technology compared to manual conventional approaches. By doing this technical advancement only, then only we can able to achieve the complete customer satisfaction in such a way that it will be benefited for the customer as well as in the company as well. That's my short point.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Mr. Chalan. Now, my last question around mindset, for which I'd have Vikram's thoughts. Vikram, in your presentation, you mentioned that majority of robotic adoption has actually taken place in China, which is very eye-opening, actually, China and Japan, because yesterday we had a couple of discussions during the session wherein the point came up that because Middle East has access to not so expensive labor, we can't compare it with Europe. But then if you look at Asian countries like China and Japan, which are more labor intensive markets, and still the robotization has taken such a huge kind of step there. So is it about mindset, Vikram, or what do you think? And if you can just quickly, within like a minute, if you can just share your thoughts on this, please.
Yeah. I think so. It all depends upon the culture, the mindset, the government initiatives, the experience, the references. We have automation in Europe, but still the percentage of automation in Europe is 2%, because generally the traditional industry has been automotive, metalworks, and electronic industry. And suddenly with COVID-19, we have started to talk about localization, also focus from all the countries and regulation on climate change, and moving towards non-fossil fuels or renewable energy is also something which Middle East has to think about. I can just share very quick insight. In last 1.5 years in Europe, there are many countries which are very ahead of bigger countries we saw, and there are countries which are small with very less manufacturing are also moving ahead. It also depends upon the government initiative. In Baltic countries, they have a lot of, in Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, there are a lot of support in terms of building the infrastructure, interest-free loan, going for Industry 4.0. And that's what also, I think so one gentleman talked about, I think so it was Rahel talking about Finland. So a lot of in France, they are giving some initiatives, tax incentive recently in UK also. So the biggest challenge with the mindset is that we have cheap labor and we have an access to the labor, and that is okay. But that's what I was telling, that in whole 10 years, Asia Pacific has been buying 65% of the entire robot and 50% by China alone, though they have 1.6 billion people and have cheap labor. As compared to Japan, Japanese labor is expensive, but China has the most, biggest forum for the labor as well as cheap labor. But still they went for automation because exactly what Mr. Chelem said, the customer wants quality, on-time delivery, and cost-effective solution. And with COVID, we also need social distancing, and this can only be provided by if we go towards Industry 4.0 or automation. Coming back on the timing, nobody can predict it. It can be very fast. It can be very slow. It is completely, all these consultants write a lot of things, 25%, 30%. Suddenly in 19, we saw a drop in automation by 50,000 by 10%. It is all dynamic, and it depends upon all the situation and the scenario, how the government, how the people, how the mindset, and how we also push the market. It is also the responsibility of all of us. We are there in the world to also educate and transform the industries, how it can help them. So also the onus lie on us. So quite hopeful with all the COVID and social distancing and the localization and discussion with with focus on non-fossil. So it looks like mindset is not easy, but when the world change, you are also forced to change, otherwise you will go out. So in that scenario, then it will move faster. It can be very slow, or it will. But if we don't change, then people will suffer, or the industry will suffer.
Thank you so much, Vikram, and I totally agree with you. And it's great to have the brightest of the minds in the industry to share their thoughts over here. And I'm sure all those people who are listening, who are online at the moment, they will have so many takeaways from this conference. I'd not take much of your time, my dear panelists, and thank you so much for being here with us. And we will certainly share the recordings and all the other data related to the conference with you guys in the next couple of weeks. And thank you so much. I can't thank you enough to have you guys with us over here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Enjoy the hot weather from the cold weather.
Yeah.
From the cold weather. Bye.
Thank you all. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, thank you everyone for your valuable time, and it was a highly productive day altogether. We had some great discussions and talks, and especially the open Q&A session was extremely interesting. Our virtual platform is open up to 5 o'clock today for networking. So if any difficulty in accessing or finding anyone here, feel free to reach out to the organizers. We have a virtual booth in the sponsors and partners page. Thank you all once again for this wonderful and productive gathering. Hope we all have some learnings to take home. As mentioned yesterday, recordings will be shared to all the audience after the event, and post-event report will be shared to all the attendees as well. Hope to see you all next year as well.